Hello, and welcome to Geek of All Trades, your podcast for all things geeky. Your hosts today are Doe Pretorius
and the amount of innuendo that you missed as a kid.
Greg Barlow.
The world is filled with con men and charlatans.
And in our third chair, Daniel Hallinan.
The light side and the dark side are both unhealthy extremes.
Stay tuned and enjoy the show. This episode of Geek of All Trades is sponsored by Skycastle Games. For all your geek and gaming needs, visit skycastlegames.co.za.
And by AnimeWorks. Visit awx.co.za.
Hello and welcome to episode 5 of Geek of All Trades. I'm Greg Barlow.
And I'm Doe Pretorius.
And I'm Daniel Hallinan.
Oh, you
Yes.
didn't wait for me to introduce
Oh,
her.
I'm sorry.
No, he knows he's here. And today we're going to be talking about miniatures. So stay tuned and we'll give you the lowdown on several miniature games and where you could get started or where you could go even, depending entirely on where you currently are.
Totally.
And but first off, we're going to start with what you doing, our section that's increasingly named more for what it is.
Yep.
And well, let's start off with Daniel. Daniel, what have you been doing lately?
Honestly, a lot of board games. Particularly actually playing XCOM, the board game, quite a bit.
Okay.
Really enjoying that.
Yeah. How is that with the app? Because
I know a lot of people were very nervous about the app and are still, who haven't played it, are still a bit apprehensive. But it does add things to the board game that board games can't really manage efficiently.
Yeah.
It's not something that the board game can do, and it's not such a large feature that you could turn it into a digital product entirely. So it's a very nice middle ground.
No, that's good. I know they use it for a lot of like timekeeping and stuff between.
Yeah, it's timekeeping. It also manages because all the players are working together against the app effectively, and it manages the enemy AI quite effectively. You don't have to work out what it's doing. It runs that. It tells you what's going wrong, how terrible you are, and asks you at the end of every round if you're still alive, and then continues to try and beat you to death.
Sounds like the Cylon player from like Battlestar.
Yes.
Can you play the game without the app, or do you have to have
No, you have to have the app. The app is also the entire tutorial. You open the box and you get one sheet, and that's just for setup.
Okay.
That's interesting.
What is supported for that? Is it like only Android and
Every single smart product and computers.
Okay. So you can run off your PC at least.
Yes.
Tablets,
PCs.
I would like worry about sort of thing like as someone who uses a Windows phone, and there's just so little in the way of like commonplace apps and stuff and support.
As far as I'm aware, unless you have a very old phone, anything digital can run it.
Cool. And how does it work? Can anyone just download this app?
Yes,
Obviously
it's completely
you need the board.
free. Yes.
Okay, so you don't need like a code or anything.
No. I mean, they released the app prior to release.
Oh, okay.
And
So
I
people can play
downloaded
with
it, and you can go through the tutorial. Not that it really means much without the product, but it was interesting.
Yeah.
Is it better to run on a phone or a tablet?
I don't know. I've run it on a tablet once, but I have it on my phone, and I've had no problems running it on the phone.
That's cool.
So it's obviously a lot more visually impressive for people walking by who are the giant thing with all these numbers going on it. It's more impressive. But yeah, phone works perfectly fine.
And the game in general, what's the premise again?
Everyone is working together against an alien invasion run by the app, and you have to try to mitigate the constant disasters that are happening long enough for the opportunity to open up to invade the aliens' mothership or cathedral ship if you've played the game. And if you win that mission, you win the game, but it's a matter of actually surviving long enough to get there.
Ah, okay. So you're literally battling against an evil AI as well.
Yes, it's quite difficult. If you're new to the game, I mean, you likely won't win the tutorial.
Okay.
Wow.
That's encouraging.
It sounds like Imperial Assault.
You guys won the tutorial in Imperial Assault.
Not the first mission.
Oh, that's right.
Well, there was a tutorial before that, and you guys slaughtered me in that. So
We have actually we won the tutorial. It's a very difficult game, and we won the tutorial only to realize that we were actually cheating without knowing it.
Okay.
I always hate that happens in like board games and stuff. You like go through and you like finish a game and you're like, damn, that was like really tough. Or, oh, that was so easy. And you look over and you're like, oh, that made it. Ooh.
Yeah, you're not supposed to double move. Or,
Yes,
yeah.
Well,
You
in
attack
this
twice
case,
around, or-
one of the roles, because each player chooses one of the 4 roles to play as. One of them is the commander. The commander deploys interceptors to destroy UFOs, who, if left alone, will raise the panic levels.
Yeah.
And he also audits the budget,
Okay.
which means he's the one shouting at people what they can and can't do.
Okay.
You know, you get very angry if you don't listen to him because the budget is everything, and he gets assigned a budget depending on how the countries are standing. But we were under the impression that if you overspend on the budget, the commander chooses one of the countries that are most panicked and panics them further.
Okay.
What we discovered today was that instead, if you overspend, you do that, but then you repeat the process for every credits that you overspent by.
Oh, wow.
So we were using every few rounds. Let's overspend because one country can afford to go
panic
up.
by one,
And now obviously you don't want to overspend at all.
Because it's a ludicrous amount of.
Yes. So yeah, we didn't. All those games we won, we've not actually won properly. So it's a bit of a downer. I do really enjoy it, though.
Yeah, it sounds like one of those things, because I remember like with us, the first time we won against a Cylon player in Battlestar Galactica as well, it was afterwards like, oh no, we were cheating you.
I can't remember what we were doing wrong.
There was some sort of like thing where the resources didn't go down correctly at the one point or something like that.
Yeah. I also remember being at the end.
Yeah. No, because I remember it was the first time we played that expansion that you went down to Eden. And we did something wrong on Eden, on how to get off of Eden, and then
Ruined the whole game.
yeah.
God, it's been ages since I played Battlestar.
Also, we haven't played it for a while.
I had a real urge to play it the other day because they were playing it on Total Biscuit's co-optional board game lounge on that virtual tabletop. They were playing Battlestar.
Oh yes.
And oh my goodness, they're so bad at playing Battlestar.
I remember.
That's why you watch them, though.
Yes, that's true.
When the group I used to play with, it was probably the group, because a lot of board games it can be reliant on the group. But I always found that I always found the first half of the game really boring. But I loved the second half.
You just had to have the right Cylon player.
Yes,
Type that gets himself thrown out the airlock on the first turn.
I mean, like this was a group where, because if you get allocated the Cylon thing, and if you look for it too long, obviously it gets away. So this is a group where I would often feign needing to go to the toilet and then sit on the toilet and read.
No, it was always the worst thing was that it was like when you got like a new Cylon card or an expansion or whatever.
Yes.
And you're not familiar with it, and you like look and you're like, oh, okay. Wait, what did that say? I guess we'll see when I get outed.
Well, that's why we sort of did that little house rule of when everyone looks at their loyalty cards, everyone looks for a set amount of time.
Yes.
So that way it's not like, when you reveal yourself. Everyone just, and then all the non-Cylons sit there glaring at you are not a Cylon for a minute or whatever. But yeah. And Doe, have you been doing anything interesting lately?
Well, not there's anything like board gaming stuff. I bought a couple of board games out at the Hobby X, but I haven't had a chance to actually play Tokaido yet, which is kind of I'll get people together for that. I still haven't played like Machikoro as well, so
I still haven't played it either. I really want to play it.
I've got it, so
it's always been played around me, but I'm not.
It seems like really easy and simple. It's like, go. So I really want to get into that. I've been watching too much Sips, so I bought like all the games you've been playing like recently. So So I got City Skylines, which is actually really good.
I've heard good things about it.
I'd say it's like what SimCity, that one was released like 2 years, should have been.
I've heard a lot of people say that.
It's really good, and like the thing, because it's the cities guys, the transport system's so much more involved. Because the cities, they originally did all they did was cities in motion. So it used to be like a transport simulator. You used to have to work out the best bus route between your cities, sort of thing. So with this one, you build the whole city. It's got the same way of like where you work out your zones. You have to make places better or not. But after you've done that, you make a public transport system. And that's where it actually gets really intriguing, because they've got all their previous traffic engines and stuff working in it. And it really becomes a difficult thing of like, okay, how do I upgrade this road? And what route should I give these people? And how do I incentivize but still keep my budgets? And
So does it like simulate actual traffic?
Yes, and
So if you have a big residential zone,
yeah, you can have that, and it's interesting because there's like instead of your usual like city builders and stuff like that, there's maybe like 3 different types of roads. It's like light, medium, heavy sort of thing. They've got the light, medium, heavy, but they've got different versions of the light, medium, and heavy that have like 2-lane, 2 double lane, 3 lane, 6 lane, whatever sort of like things.
Mm-hmm.
So and it's to work out like circles and try and get like your industry to get out. Because they've got trucks that just take forever to get anywhere, and if you have that going through any sort of residential, you're
doing it wrong.
You're doing it wrong. Your profits take a dive. I just unlocked getting office spaces. So I've just built my like downtown area, and I'm trying to get them to become high rises, but it's really difficult.
Okay.
But that's a lot of fun actually. And then I also picked up Hotline Miami 2, and just finished that last night actually.
Okay. Yeah, you worked quite hard at that to finish it so quickly.
Yeah,
Was it good?
It's only about like a 6 hour game, depending on like how good you are at the levels and stuff.
How many missions about?
30 missions,
Wow.
and then there is a bonus level as well.
Like the first one. Oh no, there was actually quite a.
Well, there's quite a bit of thing because I mean, like the first one you finish the game, and then there's like a whole extra section.
Surprise.
But,
it's like Pokemon.
Yeah, actually, very very strangely like that. But no, like the second game, there's a level that's right at the end. I think it's like about chapter like 18 or so, and you go through the 2 floors, and it's typical like Hotline. So one shot you're dead sort of thing, but you can restart the level almost instantly. And you get up to the 3rd floor, and you're like, okay, cool. So it's going to reset or whatever, and you go through, and the first person kills you, and you're like, oh no, I'll just reset, and it doesn't let you reset, and the guys like drag your guy's body off, and that's the end of the level. And the secret bonus level, you have to get through the previous parts of that level all the way to that last stage and not die in the last stage. And as Hotline Miami, it's damn difficult to not die. And if you fail on that, you have to restart the whole level again. But again, it's one of those ones where they're like, hey, we're just going to add like the extra little bit of interesting storyline so you actually know what's going on in the background, because that game is just, it's all over the show with its storyline. Very similar to the first game where you're not quite sure what's real, you're not quite sure what's goes in what order, you don't know, like the characters and stuff just randomly pop up, and you're trying to work out like how it's interconnected and etc.
I've really enjoyed Hotline Miami 2. I've not played it much. I think I've only gotten to about mission 11.
Oh, that's not too bad. So I think that's like Act 3 or at least.
Yeah,
so.
it's actually, but I've really enjoyed it. I love the characters. I recently, the last one I did is the first mission with the duck.
Oh, right,
with
the 2 people.
The chainsaw on the gun.
Yeah, to the brother and sister.
Yes, and I really enjoyed that. That was just really
there's a level not too much far from you where you play as each one of them consecutively after each other as they go up a building to the top floor. And that's a lot of fun because you go and you have to like be like the tiger guy, and you have to have no weapons and beat everyone.
Well, to be fair, I mean, I did that in Hotline Miami 1.
Yes.
I always took Tony the Mask. I loved that mask.
Well, now for people who are completely out of context, maybe one of you can explain how it works.
Yeah, so it's a top-down sort of thing. If you've played the original Grand Theft Autos 1 and 2, so it's a top-down. It's very pixels. The soundtrack's chiptunes. And you play as a variety of characters in this one. In the first game, you just played one character, but you had different masks, and depending on what animal mask you wore, you got different abilities.
Okay.
In the second game, you're playing more different characters that have different abilities, and some of them have masks, some of them don't, but they have different things. And your whole point of the mission is to go through various levels of a building and kill everyone.
Sounds deep.
It's very twisted with the storyline. It's a very intriguing one. A lot of people sort of compare it to being a Quentin Tarantino-esque game because it's hyper violent, and the storyline, the dialogue and stuff is very well brought together and stuff there.
The gameplay has almost puzzle-like elements.
Yes.
It's interesting because you have to kind of figure things out.
Because you can't just run and gun in because you're going to die, and especially in the new one because the levels are so much bigger. So if you do decide to run and gun, you could be walking into a room and someone on the other side will have a gun and you won't be on the screen, will shoot you. So you have to work it out, and there's a lot of things where it'll be like, okay, how can I take this patrol out without alerting the next patrol in the next room so I can make sure, or how am I going to go through, there's puzzles later on where there's guys you can't shoot. They dodge. And so you have to make sure that you have a melee weapon somewhere close. So you have to work out how you're going to kill the patrols and stuff, that someone drops a melee weapon for you so that when that one guy comes after you, you can get to the melee weapon and kill him.
Kind of sounds like Commandos.
I don't know. More fast paced, definitely much more frantic paced. I think the what's the speed runs of it are something to watch
because sometimes how the game scores you. And I
Yes.
think I've done a level well,
Yes,
and
and
it
it's
gives me a C.
D-.
Yes.
No.
Sometimes I do a level really badly, it gives me a good score, so I'm not entirely sure.
The
it's
scoring
the
system.
It's the mobility and that sort of
Yeah.
thing. And remember the time. The big thing is tricky is the time one, because the time, they don't count how many times you respawn. It's just when you've actually been alive and finished a level. They count that as the time for it.
It also has an interesting rhythm to it. It's similar to the first one. You kind of
Yeah.
get it's not a rhythm game, but you kind of get there's a beat. It's not even to the music, but it's a kind of a
Yeah.
play beat.
And the music is spectacular.
Yes.
Absolutely spectacular.
It's
Provided
interesting.
you like
the-
chiptune.
Well, even if you don't,
Yeah.
you'll enjoy it.
I was actually surprised when you said it was chiptune, but it is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
but
is.
I love chiptune, but I know a lot of people who are like, "Oh God, how can you listen to that?" Like,
One of the interesting things is that really helps it is you reset immediately, and the fact that the music doesn't stop,
No,
it kind of
no, it
helps.
just
So you
keeps
just
going.
that
It keeps
constant
the flow,
momentum. Yeah.
And it's just got this like beat, as you say, it's the thing. You're going through, and all the levels and something, it just gels all so well together. Yeah, that was a lot of fun, and it's only $15 as well,
Oh, that's not so
which
bad.
is
Actually,
fantastic.
like, some games nowadays, that's
It wasn't even
amazing.
15. I think it was even cheaper. No, that was 15. And Cities Skylines is only $30 as well. It's not even a $60 game. And both of them, I would say, are worthwhile, like getting a higher price line than that. So
I bought Hotline Miami 2 the day it came out, even though I was on financial lockdown because I bought
dear.
too many games.
Whoops.
happens.
Yeah.
The curse of the credit card or something.
Well, in my case, also the addiction to fancy flight card sleeves, which is a horrible addiction, and I'm too far down the rabbit hole to get out now.
Yes. Or as our good friend the Admiral would say, it's a trap.
Yes.
But speaking of admirals, I've been playing Homeworld Remastered ever since it came out,
Okay.
and I've been enjoying it a lot. Daniel's holding up his Homeworld key ring, so clearly he's also got the Homeworld Remastered Collector's Edition, which I didn't get because I didn't actually know about it until
They were very quiet
until
about
you
it.
posted on Facebook the
Yes.
picture of Hagara's Pride, and I'm like, damn it!
They were surprisingly quiet about the collector's edition.
It depends. Like certain people are like that, though. You know, it's like we're only keeping this for our die-hard fans.
Yeah, only they will know. Oh, does that make me not excited?
But even though
I pre-ordered the game.
Should you get the
I played
collector's
the
edition?
originals.
it was actually difficult to get support on it, so they were quite even on that degree. I had to because even it was their Twitter. They wouldn't announce news on it unless it was at one of their game shows they're talking about.
Okay. Oh.
It was only on their actual community site where they'd post information. And so I had to keep on visiting that.
Yeah,
and
to
when
keep
it
up.
actually, the collector's edition went on sale, that's the only place it was announced. And I only found out 2 weeks later, and I was still barely in to get one.
Just made it, yeah.
That reminds me. I was watching like Hat Films. They released a special collector's edition T-shirt, and the video went out for like about 8 hours before I'd seen it. And by the time I got to the store, it was sold out. It's like, oh, come on.
But what do you think of it?
I'm kind of divided because I love Homeworld, and I started on the first game because it comes with both games
Of course,
remastered,
yes.
and I've started on the first game obviously for the storyline purposes, and I remember the storyline, so it's not so much of a surprise when things happen. But they changed. I mean, they've cleaned up the whole system for Homeworld 1. And I don't know if either of you remember how Homeworld 1 used to work or how long ago it was since you've played it.
been too long.
I actually reviewed the game, and I was actually doing the review, found out a lot of the things they changed,
Oh,
so
okay,
I'm
yes.
aware of that. Yeah.
Like a lot of the tactics and stuff have changed quite a lot with fighter
Well,
squadrons.
the biggest thing is ultimately Homeworld 1 has been brought into Homeworld 2's engine.
Yes.
And if you know Homeworld 2's engine well enough, that will largely explain a lot of what changed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fuel gone. And,
Yes, yeah, there's no-
formations don't work nearly
Exactly,
as well.
yeah.
Weapon physics are changed as well.
Yeah, there's no need to, because I remember in Homeworld 1, if you were in the wrong formation, that was the end of your squadron.
Formations are actually worse now because if the guy in the lead is taken out, they try to reshuffle.
Yeah, in the middle of a fight, and you're like, no, you fools!
Well, I was trying. I remember one checkpoint specifically, I was trying to approach an area to bomb. There were turrets, and I shot the first one, and instead of going forward, they'd stay still and try to shuffle each other.
And they just get shot more out.
Yeah.
Well, and also there's one mission where you're near a supernova and you've got to stay in the gas clouds. And if your fleet starts straying out of the gas clouds, if they're fighters and stuff, they take damage quite quickly. But like capital class ships, like frigates and stuff, they slowly take damage, but you can quickly maneuver them back into the gas cloud.
Yeah.
So it started off badly for me, where I changed formation and half my men out of the gas cloud. I'm like, no, you fools, get back in. And then I actually remembered from when I played it previously that I could shortcut across one point. But apparently they've changed the hit point ratios quite a lot. Because my fleet didn't make it. I lost the entire fleet. I'm like, restarting the mission.
That was the first mission where you actually encounter the heavy cruiser. That messed me up so bad. I tried so many times to get past it, and it was a heavy cruiser and maybe two destroyers, I think. I can take out the destroyers, but the heavy cruiser alone would wipe my entire fleet.
And then also, I encountered another bug, which was there's that mission where there's that alien ship that takes control of all your capital class ships if they get close. So you've got to use fighters and bombers. And I remembered the mission. So I'm like, okay, cool, I'll just send in fighters and bombers. And as a result, it didn't trigger properly or something, because it never takes control of that an initial capital ship. So it became invulnerable. And I'd beat down its health down to a certain amount, and it would just go full health again. So I'm like, obviously I need to trigger it or something. So I sent a frigate,
some triggers,
and it never triggered properly. So I had to restart the mission. I was a bit annoyed. But
I played a lot of Homeworld 1 on review copy, so I have no idea how many of the bugs I encountered or ironed out. But I did find there were a few issues like that. I think in the Garden of Kadesh, I had to restart missions a few times because something I'd done had bugged one of the cinematics. And it wasn't working properly. But again, review code, it's not nearly as ironed as release code.
But otherwise, I'm really enjoying it. It looks gorgeous. It's a good dash of nostalgia.
Oh, yeah. I'm still sad that the Yes song didn't make it in.
The Yes song?
The credit sequence for Homeworld 1.
I can't even remember
I still watch it on YouTube. It's amazing.
Let's watch it again.
No, they didn't include it for licensing issues. So it's just now an amalgamation of Homeworld 1 music for the Homeworld 1 credits.
Okay.
I actually recently finished Homeworld 2 in the remastered collection, which is
Okay,
amazing because first time I finished it. I can never finish Homeworld 2.
I actually found it easier than Homeworld 1
I
originally.
couldn't do it. I'm not entirely... I found it relatively easy this time around, mostly because I had the mind to build a proper mixed fleet.
Yeah, this time you knew what you were doing.
Yes. Well, it was my 7th attempt at the game, actually.
Right.
But I actually finally finished it. I'm quite happy about that.
And another really interesting thing I'm seeing about it is over the years, they've built up this massive database of mods for Homeworld 1 and 2. Of conversions into the Gundam universe or conversions into any science fiction universe with fleets you can think of.
Yeah.
There's a mod for it. And slowly but surely they're releasing them for the remastered edition.
Yeah, but it has 4 mods.
Cool.
Yes, yeah. So they're literally taking the old mods and just tweaking them so that they now fit into the remastered.
Is it how it's been released with that? Is it Steam Workshop?
Steam Workshop,
Yes.
Okay. A lot of games are going that route. Seems and it works pretty well. It seems.
And Homeworld always did those mods amazingly. I can't remember. I think it was a Gundam one.
There was a big Star Wars one.
Yes.
Star Wars Galaxies, I
Yes.
think it was called.
Yeah.
There was also the Gundam one as well. There was there was a Babylon 5 one as well.
Yeah, pretty much every sci-fi
anything that
series
could have fleets.
that had ships in it, they've got
There's
a
a
mod
Mass
for it.
Effect one as well. I saw.
Yes, yeah, that's a
Okay.
fairly recent one. Yeah. So they do Reapers versus...
Well, it's
And
several
one Reaper
factions.
ship takes everything out.
Well, it works because they just turn the Reaper beams into iron cannons.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, I love iron cannons. Yeah, have you been doing anything else besides playing Homeworld, obviously, as well?
oh yeah. Homeworld. I've actually, in terms of games, I've been clearing my backlog. A lot of games. These are games that I've played about at least halfway through, and I never got around to finishing because I have a bad habit of getting to the end of a game and then kind of going,
Getting distracted, yeah.
and then never finishing it.
I have
And in the
that exact
last
same problem.
week, I finished 6 games.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which is why I felt it was okay that I bought Hotline Miami too, because I cleared all my backlog.
Completionist.
That was Homeworld 2, Valkyria Chronicles. It was Walking Dead Season 2 I finally finished.
I still need to get season 2. But my problem is that my saves are on my old hard drive that are on my computer. So I'm like, I will not start it until I get my saves.
I think I enjoy Walking Dead, but it's a bit heavy.
Oh no,
So-
it's very like by the time I finished just the first game, you get that last scene, and you're just like, I need to go and stop in a corner.
I really like what it does. The nice thing about The Walking Dead for me was you know roughly that the ending is not going to change. It's seasons, the ending can change.
Yeah.
But most of the time, so each episode, it's not really going to change.
yeah.
But I enjoy it because it's more about the decisions that you make on the way to the path rather than the
Yes.
end result.
Yeah.
And I've really enjoyed it. You've not played 2, so I won't talk about 2, so I
Yeah.
don't want to spoil it. But
It's the storyline wise. It's a unique storyline, or does it follow along with the TV?
it's in the
or
same
the
setting,
comic,
but
or-
it's completely
Yeah, so
different
they
characters.
run into certain characters. So, like in the first game, there's the one woman whose father joined. Her and her father joined. I forget what her name is. It's been a while now. The one that has the heart complications.
Yes.
She's in the comics as
Oh,
one.
is she?
She's one of the characters in the military group. By the thing,
I had
you
no
find out
idea.
that like during the game, the group eventually abandons her, sort of like thing. But she picks up in the comics with the military. That,
Well, I've not read the comic. Oh, I have. I've read the first
but
few
it's-
books,
yeah.
but
That's
But
what I
yeah,
was
so
gonna ask, if
they've
it's
got
focused
like
more-
they've got some, but it's more like I think they've had very few instances where they've had guys from the comics or from the TV series actually.
So
called
is it
in
more
there.
focused on comics wise of the
Comics,
story?
definitely
Okay.
comics,
Yeah.
because even the style is comic
Yeah.
book.
Oh, I
based.
suppose
so
so.
the graphic
Style,
nature
yes.
means,
Yeah.
in terms of art style, not in terms of violence, it means it can lean
Yes.
towards the comics more closely.
Yeah.
Well, both actually.
I suppose so. Yeah. It's really, I really like it. Unfortunately, a lot of their other games they've made inevitably are compared to Walking Dead.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at like what was the Wolf Amongst Us? Wolf Amongst Us was good.
I enjoyed it, but I found it was a lot easier for me to make decisions in Wolf
Yes.
because
Yeah, no.
you don't have people's lives. Okay, the weird thing about
here's
Walking
3
Dead-
pieces of food, feed 12 people.
I remember that. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I enjoyed Wolf Among Us. Have you finished Wolf Among Us? Okay. So I was a bit disappointed by the ending.
Same, they left it a bit too open, and also the bait and switch at the end of like, aha, you were.
Well, I didn't-
play.
Well, be careful too much with spoilers.
I-
because
I-
there are
okay,
probably
no,
people who
that's why
haven't
I'll
played
leave it
it.
as just the bait and switch at the end.
Okay.
What Wolf Among Us did convince me of is that I'm only going to buy their games once all the episodes are out.
Yeah, that was true because it was between episode 2 and 3 and between 4 and 5,
There's
and
a
they
huge
took
delay.
forever to
But
get
it
them out.
actually hurt my gameplay experience. I got back into it. I couldn't remember it properly.
Okay.
And so the
Well,
some
I
issues
wanted
there.
to see what's going to happen with that because other game series that's trying that at the moment with what's Life is Strange, because episode 2 has been delayed to some point in March, and
Yeah,
there's
but it's fairly
5
soon
days.
at least.
I've heard a lot of
couple
good things
days in
about
March.
that, but I've not.
It's
tried it.
really good. I've enjoyed it. I'm waiting for episode 2, and then
I'll
I'll be
wait
able
for
to
it to be
say,
done. I'll wait for it to be
okay.
done. Yeah. But
Uh,
I really enjoy Telltale's approach to things.
I actually need to. I've never played any of their games yet.
pick up The Walking Dead.
Walking Dead.
So that's a
Again,
good
yeah,
sign
Walking
for
Dead
not Walking
because
Dead.
it's heavy.
No,
because
pick-
it's heavy, it's the most rewarding experience for me at least.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, definitely. Like Wolf Amongst Us, if you've read the Fables comics,
Yeah,
then
it's
pick
nice.
it up.
Yeah.
Yes.
But as just a stock standard, like here's introduction to Telltale's like current storytelling and their chops with that. Just
I've heard a lot of people say that their games are buggy, but I've not encountered that myself.
me either.
So I'm not really sure what
I
that's
think The Walking Dead bugged out for me once.
I know some of my choices have bugged out in Walking Dead,
Okay,
where it
I haven't
assumes
had
I've made a
that.
choice when I made a different choice.
Okay,
but-
I haven't had that. I've had once like crash on me.
Oh, okay.
Like in episode 4 or so, something like that. But that was it, and nothing happened to me in Wolf Amongst Us. So
Yeah.
I haven't played. A lot of people complain about it with the Game of Thrones game that they've complained. That's
I've
buggy,
intentionally stayed
but,
away from that one, though.
I want to.
I'm a bit of a gripe because it's set in the TV series universe.
Yeah, but I mean,
You just got to treat it as different stories now
No,
because it's diverging so far.
No,
well,
see-
they're now diverging entirely. because
Entirely,
they've
yeah.
caught up. So.
I fully respect the TV series. I mean, I'm not someone who says you should read the books because they're both equally valid as a story.
Yeah.
But I read the books first, and so I'm more attached to that. So I'm
same.
Yeah,
less
same.
interested in the
Oh,
Telltale
like
game.
you've seen like the current things, and they're like, but when are you going to introduce that character? You're not introducing that character.
I was actually about to say who it was. I don't
I
want
know.
to.
Me
don't want to spoil
either.
it.
Me
Yeah.
either.
Well, I actually don't watch the TV show as a result. Like, I'm just like,
No,
wow.
well, it's been a good one, and it's followed it a lot, but it's now getting to the point where it's it's after the trial of that one Lannister, and they're doing all the stuff in the East now.
They're doing its fifth book, and
yeah,
a lot of the limitations I understand. I mean, it's just deadlines and financial,
and just trying to get a cast and everything. Well, that
you can't have that
expanding.
many. Yeah,
because the thing is, by the time it gets to that fifth book, it expands again entirely because you've got all the people from Sunspear.
Yeah. I mean, it's more locations and.
Well, did you hear that? Apparently, Georgie.
He said the book's not even coming out this year. It might not even come out next year.
But apparently he's told the ending to
He's told them the ending.
of the TV series so that they can sort of at least be similar.
The danger of the TV series, I find this equally terrifying and hilarious, is because it's going in its own way now, it can spoil things to the book.
Yes.
It's already done.
So it's like a reverse. Yes, I also remember hearing that.
I find it funny because you've got all these people who take joy in spoiling the TV series are now getting their comeuppance.
Yeah.
At the same time, I want to watch it a bit less.
Same.
Because you don't want to ruin the book. But like the funny thing is, when everyone's watching the TV series and you know something's coming, you're sitting there and you're like, it's going to come. It's going to come.
I'm entirely guilty of this. I gained a worryingly amount of pleasure watching people's reaction to the Red Wedding.
Right, yeah.
Oh, it's that in the fight between the Mountain.
Yes.
And
oh, yes. Yeah.
People are like, oh.
But you see, in the reverse, they can't sit there watching you as you're reading the book. What chapter are you on? What chapter are you on? The chapter.
There's some famous quotes I saw. One person, when Red Wedding happened, he said, "Now you know why I was so depressed 4 years ago."
Yes.
Or the other one is a post someone said, why does George R. Martin do this? Does he enjoy our suffering?
Does
he enjoy our lake of tears? And then someone replied, why do you think he wears a sailor's hat?
Yeah. Nice. Nice.
I'm looking forward to the next book. I just,
everyone is.
Everyone, I think everyone is. Everyone who's read the books has sort of gone up to that point. My thing is that the current is the series, like, they should have erased out the Sunspear stuff in the last season, and they should have. I wish they had done more with the Greyjoys as well, because there's a lot of stuff that happens with the Greyjoys.
I think they have talked that they've largely skipped a lot. They're going to skip it as well in the next season.
No, they've said that because, and George has sort of said it as well, is that the chronology around everything that happened with the Greyjoys didn't really fit very well. So,
I was embarrassed the other day because I was at a pub quiz and they gave us a thing of pictures. And the one picture was obviously Theon Greyjoy. But I completely blanked on his name. And I'm like,
Elfie. It's Elfie.
It's totally not what his other name becomes. I don't know if that's been revealed in the TV series.
It has.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Even then, we're still not going to spoil anything.
The worst is still, I was playing with a friend of mine, and it was it's a little board game. It's a Geek challenge, a Geek knowledge board game. It was actually quite fun. Yeah. And he got a Monty Python quote, "Nobody expects the." And he sits there and he's like, what? Nobody expects what?
Everyone at the table
it was about to explode.
He's also someone who had a lot of trouble role-playing, unfortunately. We were trying the Star Wars system. It was the first thing they released.
The FFG one?
FFG one.
Okay. The Edge of the Empire.
It was the very first demo.
I think it's called Edge of the Empire.
And we got to a situation where we had to convince a female security officer to release the clamps on our ship, which we were going to use to escape.
Yeah.
And he would walk up and went, right, I tell her what she needs to hear to release the ship. And we said, okay. What do you tell her? I tell her what she wants to hear. Like, what do you actually say? I just tell her. I've got the skill. I can tell her. And he could not do it. He was incapable of doing it.
Yeah. He's been playing too many like Mass Effects and
dialogue
Where's my 5 options?
Tell her to release the ship.
Yeah.
Release the ship. Okay.
Option.
Yeah. Okay, we're actually running out of time. So any last thoughts, Doe?
None really, I don't think. We're going to bat for it in the last while.
Well, I've actually, speaking of Star Wars, whilst we're there, I've been watching Star Wars Rebels. I've been catching up on it.
How are you enjoying it?
I actually really enjoyed it. I just finished watching the first season, which is 13 episodes, I think.
Are the Imperials still wrongly shown as incompetent?
No. That's just right in the beginning. That's those stupid officers.
Oh, okay.
And you're like, oh god, Imperial officers, what are they doing?
Yeah.
But then there's like an Imperial intelligence agent guy, and he's super competent. Like he's that like mastermind level competency, like preempting like the Sith Inquisitor.
Oh really?
And like saying, no, we shouldn't do this, we should do that kind of thing. And it's like, no, we must follow the ways of the Force or whatever. And then he's actually right. And
Keep your superstitions out of here.
yeah.
At the end of the current season, they actually linked it to Clone Wars, the CG Clone Wars. Unfortunately,
yes.
the 2D Clone Wars is it's not canon.
I wish it was. Because
I
like
know.
that
I loved it.
Just everything about it was so amazing, and just like that finale between Vess's fight and Anakin was.
I love the 2D
So
Clone
good.
Wars. Yeah.
2D Clone Wars is good. And I've actually, since I finished Rebels, because I never watched 3D Clone Wars, I actually started watching that now. And
I didn't enjoy that. I didn't enjoy that.
I hear it gets a lot better.
It
that's
gets
why
better.
I'm
The thing
sticking
is,
with
like, there's like the initial parts where like there's like the Yoda episode, and, like
and
just getting over your initial like, no, Anakin can't have an apprentice.
Yeah, the
Get out of
Padawan,
here.
yeah.
And then it works out like later.
I think my main issue was that there were a lot of antagonists who were like, "Mwahaha, I love being evil," and me just rolling my eyes.
I'll sweat later where it's like, hey guys, remember Darth Maul? Yeah, he's back.
Oh yeah.
You're just like,
Oh
but-
god, and
Cyborg Darth Maul.
there wasn't like the huge outcry that the Mandalorians, that whole Mandalorian situation had a lot of people are still very upset. Because it's canon.
Well, I haven't watched that far, so don't say anything.
Okay.
Because I don't know.
On a quick other note, I'm actually really excited for the Star Wars Rogue Squadron movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because-
well, it's not Rogue Squadron. It's just
Well, it's called Rogue.
Rogue.
Oh,
Rogue
I assume.
Rogue.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Yes, it's got Rogue in the name, so everyone automatically is like, it must be about Rogue
yeah.
Squadron.
That was 90% of the reason I want to watch episode 7 is for space battles.
But
Yeah.
on that note, actually, we'll get there now. In the Wild News headline appears, which is about to come up, we're going to cover something along those lines. That's a rumor, but we'll see when we get
Okay.
there. So we'll wrap up what you're doing on that, and in a little bit, you can join us again for a Wild News headline. And welcome back. You're joining us for a Wild News headline appears. In this section, we put on, or last time we put on our survival gear and our safari gear.
Well,
So,
our non-copyright infringing.
safari gear. So this time we'll wear jetpacks, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, stormtrooper jetpacks.
No.
So we're all wearing our jetpacks and we're heading through the clouds. And the first headline to pop out at you, which was originally a
We
later
seem
headline,
all very
but I've-
prepared for a sudden surprised headline.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Or we know
you're all
that's the
well equipped.
segment, yeah.
Yeah. And this is more a rumor than a headline, but it's a rumor that made headlines. So,
Yes.
therefore, it is valid. The rumor is that the Star Wars spin off movies, including Rogue One, that was the name, by the way, that we were trying to remember,
Yeah.
will include Han Solo and Boba Fett, and they will be main characters in the movies.
I have heard already, because when they originally announced the spin-off movies, they announced that there would be a Han Solo spin-off. So I knew that much and something. And considering how big Boba is within like the Star Wars true fandom sort of thing, you think about how many fanboys there are for Boba.
But
Definitely.
on the other hand, there's also the whole thing about Han Solo being like, oh, I'm getting too old for this.
I know. Well, yeah.
Well, he
Harrison
broke
Ford
his leg on the
really.
set, then crashed a plane on a golf course. And
Survived it more. You know, I don't know if you heard another one. He's narrating an aviation documentary. It's just fantastic.
My favorite line when he injured his leg, because it was actually walking up the Millennium Falcon's ramp, when he injured his leg and they took him off the site. His quote to the media was, "I'm like a battered old Ford." I was like, oh.
No, if
Have
it's
to
true,
more for that.
if the rumor about Han and Boba specifically has credence, that's really interesting because it allow the movies to focus on an area of the setting which it's not really focused very much.
Exactly. And there's so much lore if you think about it. If you've read the stuff that's part of Legends and stuff there around Han and Corellia and everything around there.
Well, the entire scum.
Exactly. There's so much
area.
there. I mean, even Boba Fett, there's so many comics about him.
Yes.
There's so many videos on the internet about oh, look, he's so awesome.
Because I know canon Legends currently until they
Yes.
confirm it that Boba escaped the Sarlacc pit.
Yes,
Thrice.
Three times, yes.
Wow.
3 times, because he escapes first in the one comic by blowing himself up with a thermal detonator.
Okay.
And using that to get himself out. There's a later comic where him and R2-D2 are kidnapped by Jawas because they think that
he has amnesia. First of all.
they think that Boba Fett is
A droid, yeah.
Yes.
and he's got amnesia and he doesn't
course.
understand this. and I think it's Han comes after them and saves R2D2, and he has amnesia because he's just escaped the Sarlacc.
That was the
That's
thermal
this is the
detonator.
thing.
Like
no.
knocked him.
This is later. This is later. This is after he's.
So how did he
escaped
escape
and
the
everything.
second time?
Second time,
Nobody knows.
No
He
one
just shows
knows.
up in the
Just-
desert.
he has
shows up-
amnesia,
He
so-
shows up in the desert. He's got amnesia, and he's just gotten himself out of the Sarlacc pit.
That is
And
such a
at the-
convenient writing.
Yes,
for him.
and at the end of that comic, the sandcrawler that he's in, that he tries to shoot Han because he gets his memories back when Han arrives. Han saves R2D2, jams the thing into like full drive, and the sandcrawler drives into the Sarlacc, and he gets eaten again. Which he then escapes for in the future because it's for the comics after that
he's back
again.
again.
He's
Oh,
dead.
wow.
So he's escaped the Sarlacc 3 times.
So I'm pretty sure he's got some deal going with the Sarlacc now. Like, I'll bring you more food. Just keep letting me go.
Well, it's our entire thing of Jawas. I would love to see that side of Star Wars.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's even the side like you're saying, with the whole scum side of like the Black Sun Cartel and Prince, what's his name? Prince Sizor. Like, I love that book. What is that book? The one in between the I'm going to say second and third movie, but it's now the fifth and sixth movie.
Empire Strikes Back and
no,
Jedi Returns.
Yes, yeah,
Or
but the
Return of
book
the
was
Jedi.
something like Empire and Shadows or something
Oh.
that followed.
It's shadows. It has shadows in
Yeah,
it.
so Shadows of something. And that was one of my favorite Star Wars books because it's probably one of the first ones I ever read.
I've not read any, unfortunately. So.
Yeah, which is why it's so difficult for me not to buy Scum and Villainy stuff in X-Wing. I'm like, no, I've already got Empire. Don't need Scum and Villainy.
Villainy, of course you do. Just
No,
because you
I
have
must
broken,
resist.
just gonna have broken IG-80. Oh, yeah.
IG-2000s.
Yeah.
But that's a discussion for another day.
Yes, it
Yeah,
is.
but yes, and ultimately, if true, I'd be really interested to see that movie.
Yes, I would as well. I don't know anyone who wouldn't.
Trekkies.
No, I think they're secretly Star Wars fans, and then go see the movie. Like, I bet you, when Star Wars comes out,
Yeah.
Oh, come on,
there
you
isn't
mean
a person who will be like, I'm not going to go see
Well,
it because
they'll-
I'm a Star Wars fan.
they're good to see it to hate it, is what you're saying.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, at the very least,
I
and then
suppose.
secretly deep in their inside, they will love it. Because I love Star Trek and I love Star Wars. So
Yeah, I mean,
I'm an equal
there's-
opportunity sci-fi lover.
Yeah, there's a place for both, and they don't have to be mutually exclusive.
What were the other spin-off movies they announced outside of the Rogue One?
There was also another rumor that I heard, but it had like even less credence. Was it follows Obi-Wan? It's a trilogy following Obi-Wan.
Yes, there was.
When you mentioned his father earlier, I was like, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've not heard of that. Though.
Yes,
I know,
yeah,
because
that's also a
there
recent
was.
rumor.
I have heard that as well. They wanted to like do something around Obi between episodes
Yes,
3 and
naturally.
4.
Yes. Unless it's following a ghost and
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I saw a little flash animation on that where it's like what he should have done when he became a Force ghost, and it like shows him just appearing next to Darth Vader going doo, 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 and dancing, and Darth Vader going shut up, shut up, shut up, and then like everyone else is like, sir, are you okay? He's like, shut up, you old man, and he just like starts destroying the ship from the inside.
Yeah, I'm assuming that Rogue One is about Rogue Squadron. Yes, very excited for
Yes.
that. I hope we finally get to see Imperial aces, pilots, and do that thing.
Yeah, that would be pretty.
'Cause I'd love to see, because the expanded universes have
Yeah.
done so much to the
So
Imperial Navy
much
and the
extended
pilots
lore.
and things like
Yeah.
that. Even though a lot of the good Imperial pilots are secretly good guys.
Yeah, they all joined the rebellion at some stage.
Imperium isn't allowed to have good pilots.
They also have to be incompetent and shove Darth Vader out of the way when he's about to take the shot.
Yeah.
Look out!
Oh no. Yeah.
But that would be great. A lot of ships I'd love to see in the cinematic
Oh, yeah,
universe.
no, definitely.
Some of them are a bit dated in terms of the design, but
Yeah, fair enough. I mean,
it's the E-wing, which has the weird little head-mounted laser.
Yeah, it's like a
Yeah.
little clunky thing.
Yeah.
but I mean, you don't even see the E-wing in like X-wing or any of those. So
Well, it's in
It
X-wing, the
exists.
game.
Is it?
It's an X-wing game, yeah.
Oh,
You
okay.
can fly an
Oh.
E-wing. It's like a flying brick with a laser turret on top. Yeah,
It flies really well.
yeah. It is
It's hard
the
to kill.
stat line is beautiful.
Yeah, it's just very expensive.
But-
Anyway, yeah, that's for later.
ugly.
Yes, that's for later when we're speaking about miniatures. Let's move on to the next headline. We've clearly defeated this one handily. So the next headline we've got, seeing as we're talking about space, we'll continue the space theme, and that's about Mars One. I'm sure you both know the Mars One project.
Yes.
Okay. This headline is that one of the finalists claimed
Ah.
the entire show is a scam, and a different finalist then, in response to that, rebuts this claim, saying no, he doesn't know what he's talking about.
I read the article about the guy who said it was a scam. I haven't had a chance to read the one like that. The guy says like, no, it's legit.
Yeah, well, because on the scam side of the story, he's like, no, they haven't done half the things they said they were going to do, and a lot of it's just asking for money, and everyone who's gotten into the finalists are people who've given money. And he expected to have interviews and stuff, and they've only ever done like a 10-minute Skype interview, and he's in the finalists, so he's really skeptical about the whole project going forward. And he says the budget's way too small compared to...
Yeah, no, he has mentioned that. And I'm inclined to agree with him because the guy who did that, he's like a professor.
Yes, yeah, he's an educated fellow. But then the guy who's rebutting it also, I can't remember what he was, but he's also some educated, like, not a simpleton kind of thing.
Yes, yeah. And I doubt anyone in the top 100 is.
Yeah,
so.
it's true. Although some of those videos, I don't know if you saw some of those recruitment videos that people sent in. They were ridiculous. But so he rebutted it, but like he didn't really give that much evidence. He just kind of said, "No, it's not," to like all of his points.
Neither.
So
like, no, it's not. Drop mic and
yeah, pretty much. So it wasn't much of a rebuttal, but he did at least speak up and say, "This is not the case. I have complete faith that it's going to happen."
Yeah, I'm mixed feelings about that. Just having read the ideas and like reading through what NASA has as like a budget for it, and like seeing what Mars One are expecting as a budget, and there's a bunch of other things that are very theoretical still up there. I'd love for it to be that you want Mars One to be.
Yes,
that's
everyone wants it to succeed.
You know,
but the world is filled with con men and charlatans.
Well, I haven't read either of these, although I do think I remember seeing the headline that it was a scam. But the only article I thought you might be talking about is one of the people going is going to be a cosplayer.
No, what?
One of the first people to Mars is going to be someone's going to be cosplay on Mars or something like that.
Oh, one of the finalists was a cosplayer.
Yeah,
I never heard that.
Yeah.
Cool.
I know some of the recruitment videos that I saw, the rejected ones, had a guy who'd built his own spacesuit out of like tinfoil and stuff, and he was walking around the whole video being like, "I'm perfect for space. I already have a suit," you know. And then one of the guys who actually got in did his entire video hanging from the ceiling. But like he kept changing scene to like outside, and then he was in a building. But every single time he was hanging upside down. So it's somewhat reality television-y.
Well, I mean, it is being run by the reality television sort of thing, because it's the guys who made like most of the Dutch like reality TV stuff, and they're in the rights for a lot of the things like Big Brother and stuff like that.
And how soon do you think it'll be till people are like, it's going to be a conspiracy and they're going to build a set that looks like Mars and they're just going to pretend to launch them?
Yeah.
You mean people,
people
are doing that already?
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, there's already got people saying it's fake and all of that.
Yes. So they're clearly working on the set.
So I think it was one of the recent XKCDs that I was like reading, was they had the thing of guys like, if we can put a man on the moon, why can't we? And then the person interrupts and it's like, put a man on the moon. And we're not even doing that at the moment.
Yes, yeah. So sort of dissolved that project because it's been done.
Oh, I think the one it's linked to that is if you think NASA spent so much money to fake the moon landing, they would have done something a bit more impressive now.
Yeah, true. Actually, yeah. If they'd already established a fakey reputation, they'd already be on like Venus. And they'd have colonies in Jupiter. And
well, the problem is that you just have like the Russians just kind of being like, hot telescopes.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole moon thing as well. Is they put a reflective plate on the moon, so you can bounce a laser off of it. So that kind of should rebut every single.
Pretty much, but they could have just fired a rocket into the moon and that
had it perfectly placed
there.
Wasn't there someone who was actually trying to blow up the moon, a portion of the moon?
The Americans considered it during the Cold War.
Oh, to prevent other people from getting access to the resources of moon rocks.
Recently, do you know the theory of using the lava canals on the moon to build bases in?
No, I haven't heard
it's
that one.
Lava tubes.
Okay, from a long time
ago. And they're giant and empty. And they're large enough and apparently stable enough to actually have colonies built inside of them.
Oh, that's quite clever.
They don't actually know where any of them are, but they've seen caves which they assume actually...
That implies that they exist.
It's very Universal Century Gundam.
Yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing, except, like, didn't they do something similar in Martian Successor Nadesco as well? The one industry
that's
base
been years ago.
on the
I
moon.
can't remember that.
The one Nergal Heavy Industries base on the moon was in one of those craters.
Universal Century does it so much better, because it's like the whole, like, we have this whole, like, freaking reflective thing of all the solar panels across the one side of the moon. Yeah. Well, that might just be more my memory, but it's because I'm watching Reconquista and Geek.
Yeah,
so,
all the Gundam laws merging together.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Okie dokie. Then next up, we've got in the new Batman vs Superman movie, there's a good chance that Robin will be female.
That's kind of cool. But I don't know. For me, I'm so not enthusiastic about that movie.
I'm not really affected by this news, to be honest.
Well, the actress to play her is she's in the movie, like, as in the movie, like,
yes.
legitimately in the movie. Her name's Jenna Malone. She was in the Hunger Games movies.
Okay, still haven't watched those.
And she was in Sucker Punch.
Oh, okay.
She was Rocket in Sucker Punch.
Okay,
I read that up and I'm like, I can't remember who Rocket was.
Neither can I.
But I sort of remember the girls in Sucker Punch. And she was I think she was the news girl in the Hunger Games movies, if anyone's seen
I've not seen those.
with
I've not read the
weird
books
boat
either.
cat.
I don't know which ones to read or watch. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll enjoy any of them.
Well, they weren't bad, actually. The books were better than the movies, in my opinion, but I'm generally going to say that.
Well done, Greg. You just stamped yourself with that tag.
Like, I don't expect anything super deep, but as far as 3 books go, it's not bad, I read all 3 of them. I was like, that's okay. That was a pretty cool book series back when. But it's like adult, what new adult fiction or whatever they're called?
Young adult.
Young adult fiction. So yeah,
I don't know if you've seen like I was reading an article recently where they have like pop culture names that are now becoming popular, and Katniss is becoming a popular name. It's like name your child.
Unless you want to be cool, then it's like Darkness.
Yeah,
Original.
Katniss and like what was the like Tyrion is apparently like becoming
Really
popular. Yeah.
Well, he's a very popular character.
Yeah,
I mean,
yes.
it's even George's favorite character, which is terrifying.
Yes,
Because you read to other people and they say you know the time when you have to kill a character is when you realise that they're their favorite character.
Yes.
So this is very frightening.
What's that phrase? Kill your darlings. I think.
Yeah.
Well, that's from Stephen King, but he takes too long to kill his characters.
20 books later.
Yes.
Hey, at least he puts his books out like every few months.
Yes.
He's a machine.
I actually got really irritated with his writing. Okay, I've only read the Dark Tower series of his work, so
Yes.
to judge and tell you on that.
Oh.
But I enjoyed, I think it was the first 3 books I absolutely loved. The last 4 I really disliked because he started to insert himself into it.
Okay.
And it felt very apologetic because he felt very guilty that he wasn't writing. And it kind of worked in, he was like kind of working through that guilt through the books.
Okay.
And for me, it kind of destroyed the immersion.
Okay.
And it's not the immersion, it's I might have been incorrectly perceiving it, but I kind of seeing it that as he was writing, he was feeling guilty about it, and he was trying to do all of these things. Also, the characters just, they died either too conveniently or too beautifully.
All right.
And,
Dark Tower's a weird one for me because when I was little, I accidentally picked up like Dark Tower book 3, which is the one that starts where they're on the train, the super intelligent train.
That one.
yes, I remember that.
3 or 2?
The AI. I don't know. I don't know which book it is.
So I started reading that one, and I was really confused because I had no clue what was going on. And I finished it, and I was like,
Gundam
yes.
guy?
Yeah, so I had no clue what was going on, and I finished it, and I was like, well, that was terrible, because they never explained anything. And then a few years ago, I was like, okay, now I realized that I made the mistake and started in the wrong place, because I was young, and it was a library book,
Yeah.
And I read the first book, and I was like, oh, that was okay, I guess, but it just didn't catch me. I don't know what it was, or if it was just the setting. But
I really enjoyed the first. I do think his monsters are a bit too obviously disgusting.
Too monstrous.
Well, it's like the one scene where like they're eating a baby, and it's horrific because they're eating a baby, but it feels like it's done for the shock factor rather than a
it could have been a chicken
scene.
wing.
It's like, oh, he's like an evil, he's a cockroach. That's what he's really a cockroach,
right.
and that's scary and it's
and baby eater.
Yeah. Anyway, so we were talking about the news.
Yes. So obviously this one got away.
Well, it's just not interesting. I mean,
because nobody's really. Well, I mean, I'll watch Batman.
Okay, for me it's not
Superman.
interesting.
No, I haven't watched any of the Superman
Didn't you
movies
watch?
since.
I watched them on a
since
flight when I was flying to Switzerland, and I was like, these
Okay.
aren't so bad. I mean,
the originals.
No,
old
no,
new
no,
ones.
these new ones that they do.
Oh, okay. I watched the Batman.
I've watched the Dark Knight trilogy, obviously.
Yeah.
I actually
Like,
didn't watch the one with
Superman.
Bane.
I have not watched.
I haven't watched it.
Yeah, I watched it. It was okay. Like the one that started off on
Krypton.
Krypton. that was pretty cool because like I've never really seen any story arcs or anything starting
like
there.
on the main
And they've
movies and stuff. But I mean,
But I mean,
series,
this was
I always
like
bring that up.
modern day with all the fancy
Yeah,
CGI and the
yeah.
airships and the flying beasts and
Like, all I know is that a lot of people were very upset with the Superman movie, but I just wasn't interested to care either way.
the main thing they were upset about was the fact that he spends like 90% of the movie destroying property, like
Killing
to
everyone.
beat
Killing
guys.
Oh yeah, is that like he's not Superman because he's happy to kill people.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, I mean, he's only killing them through collateral damage.
Oh yes,
But
but
they're still
it's not the power. It's no
thousands
longer
of people are dying.
It's no longer the Power Ranger scenario where by pure chance every single
Everyone,
episode they happen to be fighting in an abandoned district.
Yes, exactly. Or
that's
on the
one
moon.
thing.
or whatever.
One of my favorite quotes about that movie was just like best live action Dragon Ball
Ball
Z.
Z.
Yeah.
No,
So yeah, that one got away.
no, no.
So we've got our final news headline, and that's that the Windows 10 upgrade will not only be available to Windows 7 and 8 users. So if you're on Windows 7 or 8, you can for free upgrade to Windows 10 when it gets released.
For a year.
But they're also doing making this free for people who have illegal copies of
Yes.
Windows 7 and 8.
I read that.
So that they can break into the Chinese and Taiwanese markets where apparently piracy is so rampant that they're trying to like get another foothold by giving them illegal copies.
You know, the problem with like that logic and stuff is that I know that the Chinese and Taiwanese still use XP. They're
Yes.
still like 90% XP or something ridiculous.
I didn't know
It's
that. Wow.
some huge percentage of in the Eastern markets is still running on XP. So when they cut support for it, it was a massive outcry from the East.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's a problem.
So-
I mean, even at my work, we've got it's like a voltage, like a simulator almost.
Yeah.
You can inject voltages on lines and stuff, and its software only runs on XP.
Yeah,
32-bit XP.
yeah.
So, and I no longer have support for it, and I've got to keep like, this computer's dying on me, and I'm never going to be able to get XP
Yeah,
again.
in my work there are a few laptops that run engineering programs that only work on XP.
Yes,
So
yes.
yeah.
So
that's why you just Hyper-V and run an XP virtual machine.
yes, and that actually doesn't work.
Really?
Yes,
Wow.
that was my first solution. I was like, why don't you just get a virtual machine?
Yeah.
And then I set up a whole like separate machine with the virtual
Yeah.
machine, and it's like, nope, sorry.
Wow.
I see what you're trying to do there. You're actually a 64-bit machine masquerading as a 32-bit machine. So yeah.
No, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, at my work, I actually recently got into 8.1, and I'm enjoying that. Even though I'm still getting used to the whole Windows button. And
Weird
Yeah,
tile
it does
thing.
the tiles.
Hey, in 10, we've got the start bar again. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah. But it's a weird start bar. 'cause
With
it's
tiles.
It's got the start bar on the left that you recognize and stuff, and on the right, it's tiles.
Yeah, so they're taking that tile window and squishing it into a bar.
well, I'm happy because when I first encountered that, I spent like maybe 2 hours trying to get
Yes.
back out of
Oh,
it.
how do I find my desktop
That's
again?
Windows key again. The worst thing I thought of was when you went into the picture viewer.
Yes.
The standard inbuilt Windows 8
Oh yes,
picture
and it's
viewer
like it's
is the
full-
worst
It's
thing.
automatically full screens, and you're like, how do I
How do I
close
get
this
out?
thing?
Recently, I was working with several PDFs, and I
No,
could.
the first thing, like, I work at a place like something where we
Yeah.
work with a lot of Microsoft stuff. Like that. The first thing we did when we like upgraded to 8 is we were like, Adobe.
Yes,
Adobe. Just give us that, because the built-in PDF viewer was just
horrendous.
horrendous.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was like, I think I was using it to preview, and I had to. I was editing and saving PDFs, and it wouldn't let me overwrite one because it was open, and I couldn't get to the one that was
Yeah.
open because of the weird view, and had to, panic because I couldn't save it.
No,
so.
it was just get Adobe, go.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an interesting one. I don't know how much it'll work. And the other thing is like that free upgrade is only for a year.
Oh, and then I never heard
Yes.
that part.
The part they don't mention,
Ah.
but even the free upgrade from 8 to 10,
Yes,
it's only for a year.
and then you've got to buy the 10
And you have to buy the
license.
10 license.
That's sneaky. Okay, I didn't hear that part.
Yeah.
That thickens the plot somewhat, because I know a lot of people will be like, "Oh, you're offering me a free upgrade?
Yeah.
Sure."
Nothing's free.
Yes, yeah, and then when you're down the line, they're like, "What do you mean I have to register?"
Yeah. Yeah.
So okay, well there you go. You heard it here. It's a trap. Yeah. Okay. But or do you think maybe that's why they're giving it for free
Yes.
in for the
Yeah.
illegal copies as well, so that
Yes.
they now have all these illegal copies suddenly on
But
their radar.
You said, is it
Yeah.
upgrade from 7 and 8
Yes.
or XP as well?
7 and 8.
It's just 7 and 8.
So it doesn't
No.
necessarily help with the XP issue.
No,
Not really.
not at all. But I can see now why they're doing it, because originally I was like, well, that's rather generous of them.
Yeah.
But now it's like, oh, well, that immediately puts all those illegal copies who are like, sure, it's free now. onto their radar, and they're like, "Yes, I know where your machine is, and how many people are running illegal copies in."
Like justice
China.
plan.
The problem is, like, I haven't upgraded from 7 to 8 on my like personal PC,
Neither have I. I'm
and
still
it's
on
just
7.
like you're like, DirectX 11 or whatever. You're like, that'd be cool to have, but there's nothing really more that I want than what 7 can give me. And I haven't tried out 10 yet, just because the trial version or the RTM version has a keylogger for everything.
That's scary.
Everything.
Yeah.
Your browsers, your games, it logs everything.
Yeah, that's kind of
and not
cool.
even does it log that, it goes into your processes and logs what's going on in the processes. So it's just one of those, like, I think we know that you're not going to use this for something too nefarious, we hope. But
all it takes is someone to get that information.
exactly. So
And-
I've stayed away from it.
Yeah,
Now I've
yeah.
been like, it's okay, I have it available. Oh, it's okay, I'll wait for the full release and I'll use it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm on 8.1 just because it came when I bought my new PC.
Yeah, no,
a
I
year or
understand
two
it now.
ago.
It's a bit of a weird one of that, though, because I know it's Hewlett Packard. Hewlett Packard, they moved it off. They were like, okay, no, we're moving it back.
People aren't
Standard
happy.
7, they moved it back from 8.
I actually remember hearing that as well. Yeah, they're like, people aren't happy with it.
One of the things I really like about 8.1 is just the boot. It's
Yes.
It's
the
very
easiest.
quick.
So,
yes.
so quick, yeah.
And it's a bit difficult to get even every day. I mean, from work to home, I have to kind of readjust to the slower boot speed.
Yeah.
It's still magical for me when I
You
get
don't
to
leave
work.
your computer on all day at home?
Load shedding.
Yeah, I can't.
so I suppose.
We get hit quite a lot for us there.
Okay.
Yeah, well, that's why I actually bought a UPS
Yeah.
just for load shedding because I kept losing things like podcast editing, where I like carefully edited all the podcast audio, and then oh dear.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm UPS, but I mean it's only like a 15-minute UPS. Or whatever.
No, that's enough to be like,
It's enough
save.
to save everything.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see how it goes with Windows 10.
Actually reminds me sort of thing with like losing power stuff. So, the Google Talk thing like have been like moved off.
Oh
so
yes,
just the
they
same
no
stuff.
longer have Google Talk. They only have
So one-
Hangouts.
Yeah, so the one thing that was annoying because like if you hadn't switched your computer off when they disabled it, it worked. Fine.
Yes.
As long as you didn't
Kept
switch off, it kept going.
Until you close the program.
Mine kept going until a few days ago when Skylines like crashed for me because I had a YouTube video on my other screen while I was playing and my computer just wasn't happy about that. But yeah, that went away. But it's so annoying with some of those things, city builders, and I wish they would do it, is putting an autosave because I lost my city as well.
Oh,
and
wow.
it's one
Normally-
file swoop, like...
Normally autosaves are pretty standard in like
Yeah.
empire building games.
I do miss the Google Chat. I don't like Hangouts.
Same.
Yeah.
Everyone's kind of like,
Well,
"Nee."
that said, I've now learned all the secret commands to change other people's backgrounds and stuff, and I just keep doing that. Just to amuse myself.
Konami code.
Konami Code works. There's a bike shed. Changes yours and your person you're talking to's background color. You can make a riot run around the bottom of the thing. There's Shy Dino as well.
I've seen actually in group convos someone sending ponies across the screen
Yes.
without knowing you could do that.
Yeah.
I was quite startled.
Yeah. Well, even if you do
it's
like
that
a
if you
surprised
say
expression.
woot,
Yeah.
it does a little like wah. Or if you say happy birthday, it puts a little cake there.
I remember that. Yes,
Yeah.
I've seen that.
There's lots of little
The ponies, however, was frightening and confusing.
Were they like brony ponies
Yes,
or just pony
they were
ponies?
brony
They're
ponies.
brony
Wow,
ponies. Yeah.
okay. There's a brony in the Google Hangouts.
Yeah,
Coding team.
It's only obvious. I think like every team has one like, somewhere.
But yeah, we diverged a little bit there. But that's okay.
Yeah,
Because we're still talking about software, I guess.
I suppose.
So,
We totally caught it before that and then spoke.
yes, exactly. And then that was a bonus question.
Yeah.
So that's the end. We can land our jetpacks now. Hope you don't
Land on
mind to-
jetpack. What about us?
You generally attach to your jetpack. I mean, you can land it without yourself.
Well, if you land on jetpacks, it implies that we're only landing the jetpacks. We have no concern for ourselves.
We've now caught ourselves a wild Windows 10. We'll just fly there.
Yes. Fly through the windows.
Defenestrate ourselves.
Yes. Defense straight through my heart. Yeah, so join us in a little bit where we're going to chat about miniature gaming and its various shapes and sizes. And we'll be back in a bit. So I was wandering through Brightwater Commons the other day, and do you know which of our good friends I popped in to visit?
Not anyone who follows anime, perhaps.
Yes, indeed, that's correct. It's our friends Anime Works. I decided to stop by the store and see what they had in stock, and I was greatly surprised to find that they had some of the latest JRPGs in stock on their shelves.
Cool. Which ones did you see?
Well, they've got quite a selection of JRPGs there. It seems they import them so that you can short-circuit all of the trouble of having to import them yourself. And
worrying about exchange rates, etc.
Yeah. And one of the ones that I saw that looked very interesting was The Witch and the 100th Night.
Oh, I've seen that. That looked really good. Oh, have you seen their website recently?
No, what are they doing there?
Oh, well, I just noticed the other day that they've just added computer bits and are selling now components.
Ah, so they're selling hardware now on their website. That's a good idea.
Yeah, definitely. Can buy all sorts of things. They just recently had a special on monitors and graphics cards, actually.
Wow, that sounds good. Maybe it's time for me to pick up another monitor.
Not a bad plan. I might need a new graphics card considering The Witcher is coming out soon.
Indeed. And actually, I also noticed they're selling a lot of special edition, collector's editions of games at Anime Works. It seems they can get the harder to find collector's editions for all of the popular game titles in.
Oh, that sounds good. I wonder if they'll have that odd zombie collection one.
Oh, which one?
The Dying Light one. The one that comes with a house.
Ah, I'm sure they'll get it in. And if they don't, I'm sure you can ask them to, and they'll gladly order it for you. In fact, I've seen several times where there's been a particularly difficult anime to find that they'll order it for you and bring it in, along with any of the mangas you're looking for.
Ah, that sounds really great.
So essentially, AnimeWorks is now doing PC gaming and board gaming and anime and manga and console gaming. They're pretty much doing everything.
Well, it's great for any geek who's trying to get into all those trades then.
Yeah. So if anyone's interested, they should just go and visit www.awx.co.za and take a look at the tons of stuff they've got on offer and the special offers they've got going.
Indeed. Welcome back to Geek of All Trades podcast. We're about to start our main segment, Tabletop War.
Tabletop Wars, wherein we're going to discuss a few tabletop games and maybe compare them a little bit price-wise, rule-wise, what sort of community South Africa has for them, and how to get into it, essentially, at the end of the day. And I think we decided to start
with the
grandfather,
or at least the entry, the gateway entry for a lot of people, which is Warhammer 40k.
Okay, so tell us about 40k, Doe.
Yes.
What's the universe like?
Okay, so the universe has been described as, and it's one of the words that they coin on it, is the grim dark future. So it's a universe that is eternally locked in war, and at least the storyline that most people will be familiar with, it starts 10,000 years before Hammer 40k, during the Horus Heresy.
Right.
This is based on a time just after a figure known as the Emperor, who is a being that's reincarnated within the human race every so often, that elevates or does some sort of great acts within his time. And during that particular period, it's just after where mankind had become a grand technological race spanned across the entire galaxy. And then another race, in a very similar way, the Eldar, became a little bit too hedonistic for their own good, and created a chaos god that wreaked havoc with the communications and the travel of interstellar, locked a lot of people back into the Dark Ages around the galaxies.
Isolated.
Yes. And back on Earth, the Emperor manages to get all the techno-barbarians that are around in that age, and through might of force and everything, and like strength of technology that he had, unites them all under him, creates 20 sons that are genetically modified to be in his image, and gives them forces that are also genetically modified superhumans, known as the Space Marines.
Oh, right.
And they set out into the galaxy. The forces of chaos aren't too happy about them restabilizing themselves and kidnap all of these 20 sons and scatter them to the stars. So at this point, the Emperor heads out on a great crusade to try and unite humanity across the stars. And in so doing, he manages to find all of his various sons and reunites them with their legions of Space Marines. And it's a glory day sort of thing. They're fighting off the Xeno forces, etc. And the Emperor is satisfied that everything is going well, and leaves things in command to his brightest son, Horus. Horus, in turn, goes off and conquers in his name for quite a while before he gets infiltrated by and corrupted by the forces of chaos. C gets into his mind that the Emperor is evil and is holding humanity back, and launches his own crusade against his father and tears back towards Earth. And is eventually defeated, but in so being defeated, the Emperor is dealt a terrible blow and is left off into stasis. And at this point, the human race sort of splits into two big forces there, of humanity and the forces of chaos. But also occupying our galaxy are quite a few other alien races, not only the Eldar. And Warhammer 40k takes place in the 10,000 years later, where war is eternal. The forces of chaos are still not happy, and they're constantly trying to invade back into more human races there.
Space.
Well, the Empire, the Imperium. Then there's other races that are around there as well. So there's the Orcs, which are a group of warriors, sort of thing, very similar to your fantasy Orcs, just in space. They just make things work because they're Orcs.
Because Orcs,
yes. There's the Tyranids, who are intergalactic threat that have come from beyond this galaxy's edge, and they're here to just consume and evolve and everything.
Typical hive mind, insectoid.
Yes.
There's
the Necron, who are an ancient race who fought the Eldar in years far gone by and lost. And went into hibernation, but are now back to reclaim the galaxy, or to save it from the Tyranids, or there's a variety of things.
Depends if you're playing Necrons or not.
Exactly. There's the human forces, which are split between quite a few different factions, but the main ones being the Space Marines, who are still around, even depending that they're Primarchs, which are the original sons, are either long gone in stasis or off somewhere. And they're sort of the elite forces. They're all 7 foot tall, have 2 hearts, 3 lungs, various livers, all sorts of nonsense like that, but are very much the elite forces in comparison to the Astra Militarum, formerly the Imperial Guard, who are the regular human
The rank
forces.
and file of the Imperial Army.
So there are billions of them, conscripted from all over. Literally everything is war eternal. So,
the entire society is geared towards it.
So there are entire planets where the entire purpose of them is just to make ammunition for the war, or to provide people for the war. And there's the Eldar. And the Eldar, during their great split of hedonistic fall, split into the Eldar and the Dark Eldar. The Dark Eldar are sort of the glam rock version of the Eldar.
Well, Space Elves and Space Dark Elves.
Yes, effectively. And then there's the new kids on the block, which are the Tau, which are out from the eastern fringe and are very eastern based. So think very much Robotech.
All your giant robot needs with samurai aesthetics.
Yes, though they don't use any blades.
Well, they've got bonding knives.
Bonding knives.
Thematically
They use knives, but
don't ever ask them to actually draw them.
No.
Thematically perceived as the only good race, but until you dig a bit deeper. And there's a bit of murky waters.
The recent codex made them more.
They've always said
but it's not getting older.
Yeah, there's a new one coming out this year.
Yeah.
Yes, so and all these factions are kind of fighting for their survival within the galaxy at large.
Trying to
The
make
forces
their
of
place.
chaos have launched their 13th crusade
Crusade,
on the Imperium. The Tyranids are just there to eat everyone.
Nom nom nom.
The Tau are trying to put their stamp on the world and spread the word of the greater good to everyone. The Eldar are just trying to survive and avoid being eaten by the demon that they created by being too hedonistic.
The Dark Eldar are actually doing a very good job of surviving.
Yes.
Because they're worshipping.
Because they live in another dimension.
It was actually one of the interesting changes to the fluff is that their numbers are exploding because they're just tossing them cloning vats.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And they're in a weird position because they rely on real space and they don't really want to admit it. But it's like their entire society runs on it, but they kind of. They hide away, but they're like admitting that they hide away. So it kind of this weird.
They're too they've got too much pride.
Passive aggressive is a really weird way to describe the Dark Eldar. Never mind.
I would just say aggressive.
Yeah.
Aggressive.
So setting wise, it's got a very well established lore and fluff,
Hundreds of books.
and hundreds of books you can read up on.
It's been around for a long while, and there's so many different places because you can pick it up during the Horus Heresy. You can pick it up in the
Current times.
40k, and the time just before the end times or whatever. Which it's in a constant stuck state there.
1 minute before midnight.
Yes.
In your situation, and they want to keep it there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's on the edge.
Though, isn't there a rumor that they're gonna, similar to the end times for fantasy, they're doing the night, the Age of Darkness?
I don't think they will
Yeah.
because 40k spends them much more money than fantasy does.
But okay, I don't mean that in terms of because I mean fantasy they finished it
Yeah.
and they're gonna do something with the franchise now. They
Yes.
can restart it.
Yeah.
But I seem to remember a rumor about them entering a narrative, a new kind of narrative.
There were rumors for that when they did 6th edition as well.
Okay, fair
so
enough. Yeah, it's one of those.
It's one of those repeating ones.
Yeah, it comes around a lot.
Yeah.
Along with the rumors that Forge World and Games Workshop are going to merge.
Have you seen that's been redirecting to Games Workshop from Forge World? Take my 3 points soon.
Yeah, the setting is the 40k setting is very much everything is collapsing. It's the last desperate stand of whichever race you're reading the Codex of, except for Tyranids who are winning and Necrons who are winning,
or the Tower who are expanding,
Yes.
or about to be crushed by the Imperium.
So as long as you're not human, it's a pretty good day.
Yeah. Or
Well,
Eldar.
actually, again, the most recent rulebook, the Human Empire is actually expanding. It's not crumbling anymore. So,
I'll see what there.
So apparently it's no longer that grim and dark. It's
So if
grim and
you're-
mildly hopeful.
your Codex is winning. Everyone else's Codex is losing horribly.
Yes, always.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what's how do you get started in this hobby? Like, what sort of scale do you need to play?
Okay, well, so the hobby is like sort of built around a rule set. That rule set is updated ever so often. It's usually about 2 years. There have been exceptions to that. It's been longer or shorter. The rules provide you just the basics of how do your different units move? Because it's a war game, so your units are built up in different ways. So you might have people on bikes, you might have people in jets, you might have people in tanks.
Yeah.
They all work and react in a slightly different way, and it's all described in this core rulebook. The games take place on standard on a 6 foot by 4 foot table that has lots of scenery built onto it, and it's mainly as a thing with the Grimdark is ruined cities or tomb world the Necron are pouring out.
Lots of skulls. Skulls everywhere.
Yeah, skulls are red.
Skull motif,
Corn
popular.
demons, yeah, very much so. Skulls are used in pretty much everyone except for like the Tau.
Yes.
And,
Yes,
are the rules particularly easy to learn? Or?
They are easy to learn, I would say. The only thing with them is they have lots of little nuances. So there can be a lot of little interactions because from the rule book, there's a core one that everyone uses. But then, depending on which army you're playing, you'll have a codex. And the codex describes specific rules for your guys. So how your men are equipped, who could be used with what, and there's been a lot of ideas there. But they also have special rules within themselves. Like, a Dark Eldar might have a Tesseract tomb sort of thing like that, where they pull people into the web way or something like that.
You have the main rulebooks, and each faction has its own.
has a
unique
cool
rulebook.
little
Yeah.
fluff.
Yes, exactly. Because
Rule set.
you have that little bit of difference between them.
Yeah,
There's a
it
lot of
helps
a difference
distinguish in the
between
game.
things.
And one of the game's strongest points is that there are so many factions.
Yes.
So each faction they're quite good at giving each faction a unique flavor
Yeah.
compared to
And
to
even
other
within, I think, because we were speaking about the Space Marine faction, and the Space Marine faction is probably the biggest played, and a lot of different things there. Because I mean, there's the Ultramarines, just based off of ancient Greece, sort of like thing there. But there's the Blood Angels, which are space vampires. The Space Wolves, which are space barbarian wolf people. Space Vikings.
Yes.
There we go. So there's a lot of stuff even just within there in that faction. So there's a lot of stuff, and so it's quite nice for having something for you to read into, or something to grab your attention and try and make like, hey, I really like to play this faction, or I agree with this. So like,
People do definitely tend to identify very strongly with those specific factions or sub-factions within.
Yes, indeed.
I mean, people like who are a bit more anarchy love chaos.
Oh yeah.
Things like that.
Well, conversely, I've seen people who are very sort of like ordered and rigid, and that's why they like chaos so much because it's so different to how they normally
you play
like.
orcs. That's what you don't play chaos. You play orcs.
Yeah, okay, that's true as well. Well, orcs are their own special form of chaos.
Yes, they really are. But yeah, so we move from those two books of thing, but then you have the models, etc. And then it gets played out across the board.
Okay. Well, how big are the games? Are you playing like with 20 troops? Are you playing with?
Okay, so within that, and the rules sort of set there, depending on whether you're playing with a friend or you're playing in a tournament and stuff, there's different points values that are given out. So there's anything from kill team, which is maybe 200 points for people, to standard tournament fare at the moment is about 1,500 to 1,850. And overseas, I know a lot of people play still at like 2,000 points.
Okay.
What happens with that is your different models have different point values. So something like a large tank that's heavily armored and has big guns on it will cost 300 points odd.
Yeah, single orc will cost
6 points because he's just a boy out there trying to kill stuff with his axe,
wearing a shirt and
shirt and a rusty hatchet.
Doesn't
exactly.
have good survival statistics and
exactly. So while in comparison there, so in a kill team game where you have 200 points, the Astra Militarum, where they have their throwaway tactics, would have maybe 20 people. Where someone like the Tau, if they're in crisis suits with their elite guys and these exoskeletons, effectively, you'd maybe have 3 guys on the board. And bringing that up into the larger things at 1,500 points, you have quite a good spread. You'd have tanks running around, quite a few people on the board are going there.
Are the tanks running around or driving around?
Both.
that's actually
That's true. You get walkers and you get dreadnoughts. And
yes, and one of the things that's coming out like recently is before there was a definite split in 40k between another thing called Apocalypse, which was when it was, hey, the Apocalypse is here and we're bringing out our really big guns.
Okay.
So all the factions have their really big guns. There's the Reavers and the Titans, the Knights, the Stompers, and those. And there's been a big push at the moment in 40k to try and get some of those into the regular 40k game. So you will find that there would be an Imperial Knight on the board. And these models are quite big, but again, they come with a very big price tag to put onto the pay.
Because it's a lot of plastic.
Yeah, which is why many people...
plastic and a lot of rules-wise as well. Like they're just stronger. They take a lot more to take down. They put out.
But that's why a lot of people will build them out of beer cans. Just
yes,
to try
exactly.
Yeah,
and
as a friendly game.
Yes,
exactly. One of the problems with those ones as well is because they're so big and they're so specialized. It's actually not built by Games Workshop, but by their sister company Forge World, which a lot of things are resin, just because it's quality for them and just easier for them to mold and give that size.
And resin in general is a little bit harder to work with than your standard plastics.
Especially
the resin is very good.
Yes, they've come a long way, especially like since they fine cast and stuff with there. Just if you look at their 30k line, especially from Forge World. But that said, Games Workshop's plastic, they're very much at the forefront of it, and their plastics are getting better every release. So, and
I actually think it's a very good thing because they've almost pushed all the other miniature companies to keep up with them.
And definitely, if you look at if Games Workshop hadn't pushed out as much as they have, you wouldn't see the stuff coming out like Kingdom Death.
I'm waiting for that. I put about nearly 7,000 rand into that.
Okay. Well, other games aside.
Yes.
Okay, if I wanted to get started today and start a Space Marines army, and I wanted to play in tournaments.
Yes.
What sort of investment am I looking at?
So I wouldn't suggest maybe going for like a tournament straight away. Sort of thing there. you would have to build yourself up on there. And one of the good things is that just the community around there is just trying to find people who have models and stuff, just to take a look and see, like, what army do you want to play? So if you've looked at it and everything and you're happy and I want to play Space Marines, you then go and look out to try and find probably a battle force. Battle Force is a collection of just a core set of an army. It gives an idea of what are the core units that you would use.
Yeah,
It's
it's
like
like
a starter
tastes regarding of overall.
So an example of that is there's the one faction called the Dark Angels. That's the Space Marine faction. And they're known for their bikes and their skimmers, as well as some Terminators, which are the heavily armored Space Marines
like heavy
that can drop in, sort of thing. And there's different flavors of how to use them within there. But in a battle force for them, you'll get one commander for them. You'll get some Terminators. You'll get some of the regular rank and file Space Marines. And then a collection of bikes and a speeder or something like that. And that all combined isn't going to cost you that much when you're looking at how much they would cost to be individually bought.
Yeah, so you'll save a bit of money, and it'll give you almost like a taste of what that army has to offer, because you've got that little bit of Terminators and that little bit of bikes and that little bit of skimmers, and then you can be like, oh, I really like these skimmers, and then you go out and you expand your army with like a full skimmer force or something.
Yes, and that's not too bad sort of thing there. Those go for, it depends on which army you're looking for, go from anywhere from about 800 to 1,500, and depending on how well the Rand and the Pound are doing at the particular point, it'll cost you either more or less.
The ever fickle Rand Pound.
We've found generally that shops and stuff that can like at least get their stuff in from the coast tend to be a little bit cheaper, because they don't have to pay for the transport up here, Joburg, where we are. But yeah, on top of that as well, though, you're going to have to get yourself hands on a core rulebook and on the codex. And the core rulebook you only have to buy every 2 years, hopefully. And depending on whether you've got friends and stuff that can get, like, who's bought a starter set or something like that, who gets the mini rulebook, you might not even have to. But those go for about 800 Rand for that all.
I think, can you buy the mini rulebook by itself now?
You can't.
But it's in those smaller booster boxes now they've done that. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's actually a nice way to go.
Yes. Now, it's a hardcover book. It's all full colour.
It's a beautiful book.
Yes.
Beautiful.
And
the codexes are getting beautiful
yes,
now.
and the current core rulebook is quite nice because it comes in 3 sets. Because it comes in a thing that has, here's all the fluff, here's all the pretty models and what you should paint and like this it looks like, and here's the rules.
Yeah, so it's fluff, gallery rules, and then you can get ideas for painting and everything as well.
So while it might sound like an expensive investment there, the quality of the stuff that you're getting from there is quite high.
And the quality of the paper is really good even. It's like a nice glossy paper. And so you can use it like as a coffee table book, you know.
Exactly. Well, especially with gallery and stuff.
Depending on who comes to visit you.
Yeah.
What is this on your table?
What is this Slaneshi demon?
Why you say that?
Dan, put that down.
Looking at the Harlequins book. I just love that book. I mean, not to play, just look at. The artwork has been getting increasingly better and better.
I think that's a big drive that's coming from Fantasy Flight because of all the card games and stuff. Artworks like coming out of there.
Fantasy Flight's just announced a new 40k board game.
Yeah, exactly. But speaking back on the thing there, after you get the core rulebook, you also need to get your factions rulebook, because it doesn't help to have this is what the generic rules are, but when your particular guy can he equip a sniper rifle? Can he have a power sword? You know,
what does a power sword do?
Exactly.
Especially if it's an Eldar power sword.
Yeah, like the ancient Eldar power sword of Merithniel or whatever.
Yeah. So you get one of those, and depending on the faction, those go for a bit of varying. So the newer factions tend to cost a little bit more because, hey, new stuff there.
New kid on the block, shiny, everyone wants one.
And particularly when you've mentioned now the Space Marines, their codex is a bit thicker because there's so many Space Marines. So it costs about 200 Rand more than the regular one.
Yeah, because they have to add all the different chapters.
Exactly. But those go for anywhere from the older ones. I'd say you could get one for like about 400 at some places, but you're going to be generally looking at about 600. But again, hardcover, glossy, everything like that. There have been some of the codexes are now being released in softcover again.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they just recently did it with Astra Militarum and I think it was Tau.
Oh,
think.
I don't know.
I can't remember like which exactly ones, but they're starting to do soft covers again. So
They do also have large ebook collections.
Yes, that's the other thing. So you can get it on your iPad or on your Android apps.
I still personally prefer physical,
Same.
but a lot of people are really enjoying because it works really well.
It's sort of interactive almost. You can be like, "Ooh, what's this rule?" And you double tap it, and it shows you.
Yeah, you just touch the rule,
Touch the
and
rule,
it
it's
works.
like
It works
block,
well.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there's quite a few things, and the nice thing about the ebook thing is you don't have to wait for importers, and stuff, especially with our current postal service.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, you have to have battery charge. That's the downside.
I also know that initially there was a lot of resistance from the international competitive scene regarding ebooks because not everyone had tablets. And,
Yes,
but I think that's calmed down now.
No, yeah.
I mean,
well, especially like if you look at like some of the things like the Assassins, where there is only an ebook, or some of the other factions that are coming out there, it's mainly ebook stuff with the data slates and stuff like that. Yeah, so once you've got that, you'll have a reasonable force. I wouldn't say something that you would bring to a tournament and expect to win with, though.
Yes, yeah. Well, I mean, you need experience.
Yes,
You're not going to take Rome in a day.
Yeah. So one of the nice things about that is, and a suggestion is trying to find a player who's willing to play, or try to find a club that's doing a slow grow.
Okay. So what's a slow grow?
So slow grow, and the things that's become quite common practice actually is where there's a new system that people are interested in, or there's an existing system where they're trying to boost player numbers, is they'll go, hey guys, we're going to start this tournament where it starts off with just 500 points. Okay. You build up a basic army, you have to have your stuff painted up and everything like that, but it's 500 points and you play. And then a couple of months later they increase, now it's 750 points.
So every session is almost like now you should have another X amount of points, and they must be painted up and assembled.
So you have several tournaments at like the 500 points. You get used to it, you can change it up.
You get the feel for what you like and what you don't like.
That's a nice way sort of thing, because it builds up, because you see other people what they're using, you get experience with your army, you can see what's working, what's not working, and then that can point your decisions for future for what you want to buy, because a new model or new set of stuff ranges anywhere from 300 Rand up to some of the bigger sets, which are 2,000 Rand. But it'll be a long while as a starter before you're actually going to be paying for the 2,000, unless you're like, Imperial Knights are awesome, I want an Imperial Knight army, pay 6,000 Rand for 3 of them.
It's only 3 models. Nice and quick.
Exactly.
Never mind that they're huge models and take forever to assemble and paint. But
actually, like having experience of painting one, they're a dream to paint. One of my favorite models to paint, and it took me about a week.
I'm interested. You still have the Grey Knight where you buy 5 models, and that's your list. You can still do that.
It's not quite 5 models anymore, but you can.
They're sort of hyper elite models.
Yes. So looking at that, it's like the Harlequins. They're a small army. They're a very small army. Imperial Knights are darn small. And if you're playing Farsight Tau,
yes,
that's like 8 models. In fact, if you just play the 8. That's 8 models, and that's 1,500 points.
Yes.
So if, that's actually a good way to, if you're interested in starting, is to find other people who play.
Yes.
And talk to them and ask them, okay, I've only got so much of a budget. What's a small army I can play?
Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily go with a small army play, because the problem, the
requires
danger with
finesse,
that is there's the finesse thing, but also you might not necessarily like the fluff of the smaller factions like that.
Yes.
So someone could be like, I only have this much budget. Okay, cool, here's Grey Knights, and you can play with them, and you may have bought models, and you're like, I just really don't like these guys. But speaking of that sort of thing, a lot of people do go through those phases with armies and stuff when they pick up new ones. So another thing of getting started is just to find someone who has an army and who's looking to sell it. Because as with lots of things within the geeky environment, people go through the phases. We play one Warhammer game, or tabletop game, and then find another one's more interesting.
It often happens with new editions as well.
Exactly. And same thing happens with it. If you're like Magic, people go through Magic and then they're like, I don't want to play Magic anymore, or anything like that. And there's a lot of a resale market, especially in 40k.
It's very healthy. Yes.
Yeah.
And you can get good deals.
Exactly. So I mean, it brings in another thing within there is, and it's another thing with the tabletop gaming, is that you need to paint up your models and stuff. And a lot of people, when they initially start, they're not necessarily confident about it. They still want to play with something that looks good on the table. And you can often find really good whether it's online or within the clubs and the communities, where there'll be someone will be like, hey, I'm selling this army, it's painted or not, and they'll ask for a very, very reasonable price.
Yeah,
for it.
I mean, you can total the whole army's worth, and it'll be a fraction of that price.
Yeah.
It won't
Yes.
even be.
Yeah. So that's another option of getting in, and it's a very reasonable one, especially if you know that you're going to play and you want to get into the tournament scene quickly. You don't have the time to necessarily paint, or you don't have a friend who you can bribe somehow to make it for you.
Or even a friend whose army you can borrow,
Yes.
just to get the feel for the army if you like it or not.
Yeah. Oh, that's especially. I mean, like even with us, like when I started my Tau initially, I've been using a lot of your models before. I've like built up my own stuff there just to try and get an idea of it, and it can work for a starter as well.
I mean, I always condone try before you buy. I mean, Tau. When I played Tau, all of it was my friend's Tau.
Yes.
And there's the point where I was the one playing it the most, and he would ask me what he will buy.
Yeah.
He's playing it now, but it's largely a list built from what I was...
Yes, from your original
my-
experiences. That's awesome.
And I really enjoyed that because I didn't have to worry about the financial aspect.
Yeah.
And I could just try it out. And I really found out I enjoyed playing them as a result.
Yeah. Oh, and it's interesting because I mean, like, also when I first started, I was at the Warp Club room there in Wits, and I played a couple of factions. I found that I really liked Chaos, and then my 21st birthday rolled around. People bought me Chaos Army, so I was there. So
Yeah,
I mean, I still have that. I still play them, and go from there. I think it's one of the things that's within 40k is we're talking quite a bit of like large money, amounts of money, like all the time with this, and I realized like at the moment, like I've got the budget for it, but you know, back when you're a student or starting up, I think a lot of like guys when you're still in high school, because that's when a lot of people actually do start it,
Yeah, that's when I started my Tau, actually.
is there's that the initial thing of trying to convince someone that like, hey, you know,
Slow down there.
this 800 rand thing, and that's being modest on a lot of things as a starter. But you know, once you're established and you've got the models you want and stuff, it's little things like expenses. So you can be like, hey, this unit's really working really well for me, or I've seen other people playing with it, I know it's decent, and it's not too much of an investment like buying it over months and stuff like that.
I do also, I think, go a bit slow, especially if you're new.
Yes.
I mean, you could... I mean, a lot of people, when they get into games like this, they look at the ones that are winning and they just get
They
that.
dive
And that's okay, but I think also experimentation is good. I mean, but I mean, again, by taking it slow, you proxy it first, then try it, and then
exactly.
you
But
buy it.
I think it's one of those things. It depends on the type of person you are.
Oh, that
because
is
you
true,
know, there's often the thing in the Magic scene is the Spike, Timmy, and Johnny.
Yes.
Yes.
You know, it depends on what type of person you are there, even within like in your tabletop, because you can be the guy who like really likes the fluff, and you're going to build an army that's the exact replica of the like 14th division of the
Yes.
Ultramarines.
Yeah.
Or you can be the guy who's going to be like, I'm going to buy with like 2 Imperial Knights, 2 Wraith Knights, then Imperial Assassin, and you know, go hog wild with like going because you want to win.
Yeah,
Just to
yeah.
stop over
Play to
everything.
win, yeah.
Stop.
And in that case, you buy explicitly what you
Yes.
want because it's competitive.
Yeah, but in that case, either way, I would suggest like looking at it.
I've actually been quite lucky, as in I've never enjoyed playing the very competitive lists. I mean, I played orcs, but I never played Knob Bikers. I never did
Knob
8.
Bikers.
I never did 8 trucks. I always had like weird lists, and I actually won more games than I lost.
Because
and that's really
people
nice.
don't know how to handle it. Because
Yeah.
that's what I did as well. Because they're like you're playing these guys and you're not fielding X, Y, and Z. I built my entire list to counter X, Y, and Z. Why are you not doing that?
Well, you see that's you're gonna be like one of those the spoiler lists.
Yeah.
It's like when you hit like tournaments and there's just that one Dark Eldar player that's just making all the monstrous creature spam guys living hell.
Yes, they're just poisoning them to
They're
death.
poisoning them to death,
Yeah.
or they're playing the other Dark Eldar variant where they're just like Dark Lancing all their tanks off in the first turn,
Yeah.
and they're just like, oh no.
But as someone who is intentionally avoiding the big winner lists, I get a lot of pleasure out of winning games when I'm not doing
Oh
that.
yeah,
And that's
definitely.
something
I mean, that's for me. Like at Nationals last year, I was like the only I was one of 2 Chaos Space Marine players, and like I went pretty well there.
Yeah.
And, there was another one. I was one of the few players who had Psychers, which is such a weird one.
Okay, well then to wrap up 40k, what's your best point about the game and what's your worst point about the game?
Okay, well, best point was definitely for me. It's the models and the building up of that. So I gain a lot of joy of like getting a really cool looking model, putting it together in a particular way, getting it really decently painted and to look good, and you put it on the table and be like, that's cool.
The rule of awesome or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Which means it dies the first turn.
Yes, obviously. Focus all fire on the
Yeah.
demon prince.
Which is entirely what you wanted while you rest your readers do stuff.
Yeah, if you get a new figure, it dies the first turn without doing anything.
That's only if you don't paint it.
Yes, yeah.
Actually, quite often. Yeah, well.
Yeah, but so that's the thing, and also just the general look and feel of the armies and stuff. It's just really fantastic.
Yeah, deep fluff, deep lore.
Yeah, I really enjoy looking at. I mean, like, there's nothing like facing another guy who's got a great good painted army and that looks good. Thing like there. I think the community is really great locally.
Yeah, it's a very big community.
Good community, like especially down Cape Town's got a lot of like thing there. Here in Durban and up here in Joburg and Pretoria, there's quite a good community as well.
Can you give props to any local clubs?
Okay, well, so I generally work out of Warzone.
Okay.
Warzone, I think, is the biggest locally.
Yeah,
Where
I
is
think
that?
so. That's they're currently operating out of JP Quandam, which is there in roughly Bedfordview, not quite, but more even
That
Valley.
area-ish. Okay, well, as long as people have the ballpark
Yes,
figure, they can look them up
There's
on
3
Facebook
plus as
I'm
well.
sure.
There's
It's
3.
not heavily focused on 40k. It tends to be a weird
Balance.
mesh.
Yes, and then there's War Banner out in Pretoria.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of places there. I mean, Warzone's probably one of the local base for there. There's the Underground as well. But
They've actually moved quite away from 40K.
Yeah,
So,
I used to play there, but they've gone far more to Magic and to what you'll be talking about next.
Well, also War Machine. But
where is they play more Machine?
yeah, they play a lot of
Yeah,
War
they
Machine.
do.
Warmer Hordes.
surprising.
Warmer Hordes.
I mean, that's a general thing in a lot of places. The thing with 40k, and that's one of the perhaps the down points, is because the rule set's coming out. When they do a quick fire thing, we lose quite a few people because they're like, oh, well, my army doesn't work anymore, or
Yeah, I spent hours painting this squad of awesome, and now they don't have rules anymore.
That's actually the large criticism I hear from people who used to play is they try to get back into it to find out they have to buy everything again.
Yeah.
Everything they had is useless.
Yeah, but it goes through those cycles. I mean,
Yeah.
if we look, there's like 5th edition where vehicles with minimum squads in dominated. 6th edition where it was flyers and lots of people on the ground.
It's a meta
dominated.
change, yeah.
And now back in 7th edition now, over in the States, the new meta now, which is appearing again, is back to the 5th edition meta of lots of little squads that can score points.
So
and
everyone
stuff.
who's patient.
And it goes in cycles. I mean, that happens in most of the geeky things. Like if you think,
Well, it's anything where the rule sets are changing
Yeah.
or just getting better.
They're not necessarily changing like too much because I mean the basics are always there,
Yes.
but there are core things like the not being able to pile in after
Yes.
charging. That was the big thing that changed between 5th moving forward. But yeah, I think that can be a bit of a thing to get around, and it does lead to a lot of flavor with a month all the time. When hey, if you think about it, the current is Eldar. Eldar, the biggest flavor of the month since Grey Knights. It's a codex that comes out. It's really strong. The models are pretty good. There's lots of people who have them in their basement somewhere. They've like just been like, finally.
Yeah. Well, my time has come once
Yeah.
again.
People were very happy with the Outer Codex.
Yeah.
Then suddenly very happy when they realized what they could do with it.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's pretty much what I can.
Okay. So, moving on from 40k, we'll go chronologically on, I think.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to chat about Malifaux, which is a newer kid on the block, not as old as 40k. It's in its 2nd edition now, so it's been around long enough to evolve. What Malifaux is it's set in a world where what's the time period? It's about the 1920s.
Yeah, it's just after the First World War, sort of like thing.
Yeah, it's around there. Yeah, so it's just sort of the railroads and all that sort of.
That's even before then.
So,
though.
no, there's definitely railroad technology and everything. And what happens is they discover there's like a secret cult of wizards that discover this little portal that leads to a completely parallel world, and that's the world of Malifaux. And originally they sort of go in and they try and colonize it and everything, and they discover this resource of the soul stones that can be used to power magical rituals. So sort of magic's discovered, and there's this massive like industrial magical revolution where everything can be powered by these magical stones, and the whole world overnight immediately incorporates all this soul stone technology into everything. But then what happens is the colony on the other side of the portal, the portal closes briefly, and no one can get in, and then it opens again, and everyone is just missing from the colony, gone. Like there's a few blood stains here and there, but that's it. The colony is just completely abandoned. And there's a scrawled message in blood on one of the walls, like "You don't belong here," kind of thing. So humans being humans they immediately then build a railroad into the portal, and then they start shipping in like full armed forces and stuff, and reinforcing it and building like a fortress city. Because the world of Malifaux is sort of like a twisted, like nightmare realm almost. In that there are these native creatures called the Neverborn that they're almost like demons and sort of nightmares made real. And that's their native home. So they're obviously they don't want these humans. And what's happened is this now, the city of Malifaux's become fractionalized into guilds, or factions. Rather, that's a really bad way of putting it. But one of the factions. Yes, well, you see, one of the factions is called the Guild.
Yes. Yeah.
And they're pretty much the de facto police lawmen of the city. But I mean, they've got so many layers of corruption and stuff in the city that they they're just as bad as a lot of the bad guys. But they've also got like all the law keepers and stuff. Then there's like the mages, they're arcanists, and they're the ones who are researching these soul stones, and they've actually sort of built an underground against the guild because they think the guild's too regulatory and restricting their research. And then there's the Neverborn, obviously, which are sort of just nightmares and creatures like from your worst dreams. Literally, there's one of the leaders. Yeah, he's called the Dreamer, and he's actually a child that's in the real world who doesn't know his nightmares become reality when he's dreaming. So he thinks it's all just a game and a dream, but in reality he's conjuring like Mr. Chompy Bits, who's like this massive demon thing that's just ripping people apart.
His model's awesome.
Yeah, and his model's just a little boy, with a teddy and a blankie.
Have you seen the special edition one of that?
Yes.
That's fantastic. It's got like this portal, and he's being like carried out on his bed.
That's actually not even the special edition. That's his because like masters can ascend into like a. And then he literally gets brought by the demons into the world because it's normally just him dreaming. Yeah. It's his dreaming form. So he gets brought by the demons. And then the last actually there's two more factions. There's the 10 Thunders, which are like sort of also the pseudo-Asian faction with like martial artists. And then there's the Undead faction, who I'm completely blanking on the name.
It's also like the Ronin.
And then there's mercenaries, who are like a non-faction faction, in that each one's their own independent person, but they're just kind of lumped together under mercenaries. Yeah. And with the new rule set, they've actually hybridized a lot of because how the game works is it's a skirmish-sized war game. So unlike 40k, like we were talking about earlier, which has huge armies, you're generally gonna field about 5 to 12 models. 12 is you're going a bit overboard and like sort of trying to swarm.
Those goblin-y guys.
Yes, trying to like swarm them with little goblins or something. And like your typical game length is going to be about an hour. It's small size, quite fast. You can drag it out actually if you've got a slow player. Now that I think about it.
Sorry. What sort of like is the terrain like on there?
The terrain's very clustered on the table because they like to give that atmosphere of like a city, and it's a very steampunk vibe. So with all this soulstone tech, so it could be a mashup of like crypts to like saloons to Wild West.
It's very claustrophobic when you compare to 40k.
Yeah, terrain-wise, because you're moving individual models and not whole squadrons of people, you can have small alleyways and buildings that you can climb up on, and the rule set handles that very well. The sort of moving around buildings and going to different levels and having like advantage points and things. And overall, my favorite mechanic, speaking of rules-wise, is the game doesn't use dice, which is very rare for war games. Most war games will use dice of some form or another. What they use instead is a deck of playing cards. And what that does is it lets you... it actually removes a bit of the randomness, in that if you can do just basic rudimentary card counting, you know what's coming up, essentially. So at the beginning of the game, it's more random. But he says, doing air quotes and inverted commas.
You have to have one every episode.
Yes, every episode. And but by the middle of the game, you know what's left in your deck because you've seen what's come up so far.
Yeah.
So you can say, ooh, I've only got really low cards left in my deck. I must pull back and sort of play defensively.
Yeah.
Or, ooh, I've only got highs left. Let's go all out kind of thing because I'm going to do really well. So, and also ties to the suits on the cards as well. So certain abilities only activate with certain suits and things. So you've got to sort of be like, ooh, I've used up most of my diamond equivalents because they use feathers, tomes, skulls, and rams instead of the typical suits. But you can play with a normal deck of cards, but you can also buy the fancy Malifaux ones with the actual suits that look really cool. They've got beautiful artwork. So game-wise, it works off. It's also very different to other war games in that you can make your list after you've seen your objectives. Because the objectives are randomized.
Yeah.
So you start with a point of the soul stones, and then each model you buy is worth a certain amount. And actually, if you choose not to buy models, you can use the remaining soul stones as a resource in game.
Yeah.
So your each little band you build, it has one master who's like mastered the use of soul stones, and then they buy like minions. And then any remaining soul stones your master can use to make himself uber by like re-rolling dice and adding extra flips of cards, or re-rolling dice, he says, when there's no dice in the game. Face palm. Re-flipping cards and adding extra cards and things like that.
Oh, well, isn't there's I know like there's the Sonias who they need that because they can't really get more.
Yes, yeah. I mean, you generally will give your master. Actually, some masters start with a few soul stones even. But you generally give your master a generous helping of soul stones because the master model is like core. I mean, you can still win without a master, but it's very, very difficult because the master is like generally way more powerful than any minion.
I'm going to kill 5 guys now.
Yes. And each faction's very, very themed around their sort of core concepts. So like if you're playing an Arcanist master, you're going to expect him to be casting crazy, crazy spells all the time. And if you're playing like a guild master, he's going to be like really good at like steampunky pistol tech cowboy style, you know. And then you get the hybrid masters, which are like sort of like half Neverborn, half guild, which actually manifests as this bureaucrat who wears a mask. And you never see his face behind the mask, but he's like this master bureaucrat who can like manipulate people and like puppets and things. Game wise, to get into it, it's quite cheap because you only need a small crew.
Okay. Do they come with starter packs sort of thing?
Yes. You get a starter box. Generally, because they've got a new wave that's just come out since they brought the second rulebook out, and they're slowly updating all their masters to be the new plastics, which because the old boxes are all pewter.
Yeah.
You can actually get the old boxes for really, really cheap, and they're still valid models and everything.
Yeah.
But if you want the new plastics, so the old models, you can get a starter box, which will give you a crew that you can run pretty much from the get-go. That'll cost you now, because they're kind of out of favor, between 300 and 400 rand.
Okay. That's really cheap sort of thing. Like, how many models would that come with?
Once again, depends on the faction.
Yeah.
Generally, it'll come with about 5, maybe 6 models.
Okay.
How many models is an average game, would you say?
Per
side.
Between 5 to 12.
Oh, so 5 to 12 models.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can buy the starter box, and you'll generally be set. You know, I mean, like I said, because objectives are randomized in the beginning, and you can do like secret objectives and stuff for yourself. But once you find out, and if you know it's going to be an objective to go and fetch something on the other side of the board, you then build your list right there and then. So you're like, okay, well, I'm going to buy this guy who moves really quickly and this guy. So it helps to have more models, but you don't need them.
So it's designed around list tailoring.
Yes, you can literally tailor your list of it. I mean, a lot of the people just have a pre-made list that they want to try. I do that all the time.
Yeah,
I'm literally, because I'm like, okay, cool, this is the guys I'm playing with. And I'm like, okay, I'll make it work to get the objectives done.
Yeah.
And because it is, you want to try your really cool model or whatever, you know. You might like tweak it a little bit and be like, ooh, maybe I should take an extra like street urchin or whatever just to go and run and fetch the objective. But more often than not, you don't change your list too much from what you had in mind, especially if you've just started with the starter box. And then, I mean, you like a good, you start with the starter box. If you want the plastics, it's closer to 600 Rand.
Okay.
And then you get a blister or two, and then you're just sorted.
Do the contents of the old and the new starter packs differ?
Yes, slightly. They've in fact added more.
Are they pretty compatible?
I assume
though?
so, considering
Yeah.
it's plastics.
Well, the only thing they're not compatible in is instead of like in 40k where you've got rule books for each faction, each box will come with the cards you need to play that person. So the rules, all that person's rules are on printed cards that come in the box. But if you buy the older boxes, that'll be the older rule set. So you either have to buy. They sell separate decks of all the masters in the faction. So you can just buy that deck and you've got all the masters, or you can buy the new box set and that'll have the new cards in it. It's the easiest solution. And the newer box sets, because if they've moved over to plastics, they can do a lot bigger models and they can add a lot more models into the boxes. So you actually find that whilst it used to be a box of 4 models in pewter, now they're in 5 models and they've got like a really big one, sort of like a focal model in the box. Rulebook wise, there's 2 ways you can go about the rules. There's like a big rulebook and a abridged rulebook.
Okay.
And the abridged rulebook goes for about 400 and the big one goes for about 800. No, not even 800. Probably close to 700, 600.
Still full color,
Yeah.
print, everything? Are they hardcover or soft?
The small one's soft, the big one's hard.
Okay.
I just bought the soft because I originally had the old rulebook.
Yeah.
So I was just like, okay, I'll update my rules to 2E. And they streamlined a lot of stuff and actually made it a lot better in the second edition.
Okay.
It's a change for the good, essentially. Like the old rules, it's not the easiest of games to learn at the beginning because you've got to get the flow of, because the activations are you each activate one model and you alternate.
So
Alternating.
So you've got to get the flow right, and there are a lot of sub rules, especially per master. Like each master plays very differently from the next.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm sure using the cards is also something to get used to if you're coming from other war games.
Well, I'm actually got interested. How
Nice.
do the cards work? Yes.
how it works is it's very simple. Like, say your master has a stat for the specific task you want to perform. So like a ranged shot, a ranged attack. You will then, if you want to shoot someone, you've got 2 things. You've got your deck of cards and you have a hand of cards. Okay. Now your deck of cards, you say, I'm going to shoot him, and you flip 1 card and you add your stat to that. So say your stat's 5, you flip a 7, you get a 12. Okay. Then say the 7 of the 7 of rams, and you've got an ability that says if you get a ram, push the guy. Yeah. Then to beat him, he's got a defense value. His defense value is 4. He flips a 3. Okay, he's only at 7, so you hit him.
Okay, so you have to exceed their defense value.
Well, generally it'll be an opposed flip if you're targeting someone, or if you're casting a spell, it'll be a target number.
Okay,
so it'll be like, you need a 12 to 2 tomes, or whatever.
Okay, well, yeah.
So what you can also do is, with your hand of cards, you can cheat fate. So essentially what that means is you flip, and you flip a 2, and he flips like a 10. Well, an ace is a 1, actually.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I was wondering, yeah.
So he flips a 10. So you've got a king in your hand, or the equivalent of a king, so it goes up to 13. You can play that and replace it. You can literally cheat. And then he gets an opportunity to cheat, and then
Okay.
it occurs.
Does your hand replenish in any way or not?
Depending on the master you're playing. Generally, yes,
Okay.
slowly.
Yeah.
But a lot of masters focus around hand control, and some masters don't use hands at all. And
I assume then some will affect your opponent's hand rather than your own.
Yeah. Some will make the opponent discard all his cards. So each master is very, very different and very, very unique experience to play with and against. So the play style can change dramatically just from even in the same faction masters kind of thing. Like one master is just a kind of like a blasting cannon of ice magic of doom, whilst the next one is a conjuring guy, and they're from the same faction but they play completely differently.
I'm interested. Okay, so that's how you successfully do how you attack one.
Yes,
How do you do damage then? Or is it listed? Is the stat listed on the
Damage
card?
is also like your stats. So say you've got a pistol shot.
Yes.
You'll get your attack rating, your ranged attack rating, and do that, and you hit. Then the weapon will have its own strength line, and it goes almost like A, B, C. with slashes in between. So, and then you flip another card, and depending on how high the card is, will determine whether you get an A damage, a B damage, or a C damage.
Okay.
So, if you flip a low number, you get an A damage. It's generally pretty weak, like 1 damage or whatever. B damage will be something mid to fair, and C damage will be like a critical sort of bam.
Okay.
Sometimes that gets twisted around crazily. Once again, some masters have it reversed.
Yes.
So if you get a low number, you do more damage because they're like unnaturally unlucky or whatever. So yeah, you get some crazy stuff. So that's where the learning point comes in, is that if you don't know all the masters, you can get like completely bamboozled by like this strategy of like, where's all this undead coming from? It actually makes unique gameplay experiences because you can do the same mission against a different master, and your playstyle will change completely. Even though you're using the same master, you've got to suddenly deal with some weird, crazy Malifaux like madness that's occurring, and it gives you unique play.
And it's based on victory points primarily. Based on the objectives that you
Yes,
get.
on the objectives will give you certain victory conditions, and you'll have like a secret condition that you choose. So it's often based off your faction. So like the undead faction will really want to gather corpse tokens or something, or have raised so many undead. Like there's one undead condition that if your models outnumber your opponent's models by the end of the game, you get bonus points because you've raised them as zombies or whatever. Because anything that dies drops a corpse token, unless it's like a machine, then it drops a wreck marker. So all the undead masters are like, wah, wah, wah. You fool, you're giving me raw ammunition. So other than that, it focuses a lot on resource management with your
resource being your cards.
Yes,
Okay.
and then sort of
Well, I
keeping
assume
track of
because there's that kind of resource, I assume there's a lot of manipulating that as well. Manipulating and managing.
Yes.
Or affecting your opponents in the same way but negatively.
Yeah.
Well, for him, at least. Okay.
Blue black decks.
Yeah.
Yes, or blue black masters rather. There's like she's like a showgirl, all she is like an illusionist, and like all of her powers involve like swapping people around and like being illusions all along, or not being there at all, and like teleporting, and like she summons mechanical doves and things like.
It's cool.
Yeah, in a super cool steampunky vibe.
Yeah. Oh. So now I'll reverse the question on you now. What are your good points and
Pros and cons.
Pros and cons, yeah.
My pros for the game are the small size, so it's very easy to get into. I love the card mechanic because it reduces randomness, in my opinion. I dislike random things in games because I don't like...
Risk mitigation.
Yes, well, you see, I like to be able to... I hate it when it's
not
like...
have to roll 11-1.
Yes, when it comes down to having to roll and I fail the roll miserably because I've got bad luck, you know. Well, my strategy was perfect, provided I roll 3 6s in a row or whatever, you know. That's the
wrong strategy.
That bugs me.
That sounds like a valid orc tactic.
Then you're throwing like 20 dice at it, and you need 3 6s.
The cards give you a lot more control, and as long as you're cognizant of that, and you're managing your resources a lot better, and your foes' resources,
yes.
You feel like you're more in control of the game as opposed to just chance. And I mean, I can see the point that yes, you can mitigate your risk by taking the chance into account. But I don't know. At the end of the day, I feel like I'm more in control of my strategy. Cons would be it's got quite a small player base at the moment because it's not as popular as things like 40k and stuff, and there's only a few shops that bring it in. You know. But it's growing slowly. The Underground does run games almost every week.
They seem to have like a lot of terrain for it as well.
Yes, they've got a lot of that building-y sort of ruined like various terrain that you can just fill the board with. And actually, the company that does Malifaux released a sort of, it's like a modular terrain called Terraclips.
I remember that, yes.
That's, you literally get these little plastic clips and like cardboard things, and you can clip together and make like amazing terrain buildings, like modular almost. And it actually does work very well. I mean, there's a little bit of like immersion ruining effect in that
Yeah.
there's like lots of little clip
things.
holding places
There's,
everywhere. But
another-
from afar, it looks really good.
Other terrain for a system like Infinity also, I think, work really well. Because it's similar.
Well, Infinity's a bit more sci-fi.
Yes, I was about to say that there's an aesthetic clash. there.
Mordheim is
Well,
the Mordheim
well-
terrain is beautiful for me.
Oh, that's a good point.
I
Yes.
just think like for Infinity, as long as you're playing on that like the Russian Scots faction.
Yes, the Ariadne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They could totally fit into a metaphor.
Other than that, also another con would be that if you don't know, like as a beginning player, it's quite difficult because you haven't faced the master, unless you really like to research in advance.
Oh, you get those types.
Because there are lots of articles and lots of strategies and like wikis that will state this is how this master plays, this is what they like to favor doing, so you can read ahead if you're that kind of person. But a lot of people I know are lazy and they're just like, no, I'll just, when I get there, I'll get there,
Yeah.
and then the person summons a million zombies and you're like, why is it eating all my flesh?
How could I lose? I
Yes.
was lazy and everything.
Yes, yeah. But otherwise, it's a good game. Quick and easy. The models are also very, very well done, especially with the new plastics. They were originally a modeling company, actually. That's how the game came into existence. Was they were just making minis because minis are cool, much like Cool Mini or not, but their own little studio. And then after they'd done a certain amount, someone was like, "Hang on a minute, you've got like cowboys and zombie hookers and nightmare beasts. Why don't you just make a game?" And they're like, okay,
How'd
we'll
you
make
put
a
them all
game
together?
Yeah, and that's how first edition was born.
Yeah.
Then they learned from their mistakes and that they'd made things a bit too overly complex. And then they sort of trimmed it down a bit and streamlined it, and that's where second edition comes in. And some of the fluffy, one of my favorite things as well, now that I think about it, is a lot of the abilities on cards are super, super fluffily themed. Like they've got keywords, and they're like the way they explain the rules, is in universe. Like if the zombie hooker's on the board or whatever, it won't just be like, oh, she activates and makes a guy walk towards her.
Yeah.
It's like she entices him alluringly with her zombie flesh.
It's very similar to like Legend of the Five Rings.
Yes, you like that, yeah.
Or like he tramples them down.
Yeah, the way it gives a fluff reason why the ability is happening, what's happening, which I love. It's very immersive, and you can see why it's happening. But yeah, it's a good skirmish game.
Okay.
Definitely, if you want a cheap investment but a good game, Metaphor's the way to go.
Cool. I think that brings us on to our third game. Then,
Third and final foray into the world of miniature gaming, and that would be the new kid on the block.
And it'd be Star Wars X-Wing, the miniatures game.
New kid for 3 days until the next Star Wars new kid comes on.
Yeah. There's an upcoming Armada, but we're not quite there yet.
It is a very different game, but it hasn't released just yet. Well, a point at the time of recording.
Yes,
That's
true. Actually,
yes.
there's a good chance that it's out by now if you're listening to this. So go buy. But anyways, let's talk about X-Wing
Yes.
instead.
I really enjoy X-Wing.
Tell us about the Star Wars universe.
I was always saying,
it's okay.
Okay, oh dear. Okay, story-wise, it's set largely during the original trilogy. So episodes 1, 2, and 3. That's the general timeline they
4,
stick
5,
to.
and 6.
Sorry, okay.
Well,
4, 5,
1,
and
2,
6.
or 3 real world chronologically. 4, 5, and 6 Star Wars universe.
Yes.
If you're going to say episode,
Okay, episodes 4, 5, and 6. You're right.
No.
Original trilogy or 4, 5, and 6.
Yes.
Generally, the time of the rebellion against the Galactic Empire.
Yes.
And, it's based initially on the flight path system, which was used on a game called Wings of War, I believe, was the first one that used it.
Yes.
And the company that was making Wings of War approached Fancy Flight Games to create some more content, and then there was a bit of a fallout. The company kind of went under, and suddenly the mechanic regarding a flight path was up for grabs.
Oh, wow.
So Fancy Flight, wanting to make a Star Wars game, made a Star Wars game,
Oh, there you go.
and it turns out it's really popular.
Star Wars.
Yes, no, it's
Star Wars and
that's-
spaceship.
in terms of tabletop war games, not nearly as popular as 40k. Obviously,
Okay,
I mean, but
Although
Well,
is
it's
growing.
growing. I mean, like,
It's growing,
If we looked
yes.
at Icon last year, there was a large number.
there was more X-wing players than 40k players.
Yeah.
yeah.
Really?
So-
I didn't know it was that big.
Yeah,
No, it's
because remember the thing with that, especially because X-Wing, they don't run 2-day games; they run 1 day, but they run like different tournament formats. So across the 2 days, they have more players than
Well, actually-
the single 40k event. But it's one of those things that it's a bit deceiving there because the 40k players, a lot of them are older guys now, and it's a bit of an investment to be like, can you be there for 2 days on a weekend?
Yes, you got family ties.
Yeah, exactly.
You got job like things to go into
Yeah,
work, and
yeah.
2 days is a big commitment.
Yeah, so it's been very popular. The Star Wars license, obviously, it's
a
Star
strong,
Wars,
yeah.
but it wouldn't have been stayed as popular if it wasn't a good game.
Yes,
Exactly.
true.
Yes.
Yeah.
There are different variants using the same system. There's the Star Trek Attack Wing, and there's more recently the D&D Attack Wing.
Yeah.
Both that's WizKids doing their own thing.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's not the same at all. Or
Oh no, it's
Similar, the
It
ships
uses,
work
it uses
with
the
different-
fight pass system, the same
Okay, yes.
core mechanic.
Okay.
But they've approached the overall game in different flavors.
yes, it's hard for your dragon to have shields.
Well, I think
Got
more,
armor, but the other thing is, like, I know with Attack Wing for D&D, they've got like giants or on the ground.
Yes.
Attack
I
Wing
like that.
specifically with the D&D one, it's very much you've got your two different layers. You've got flying and you've got on the ground.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you could have your dragon
fighting
flying,
two
you've got
planes.
units on the ground trying to attack them. The dragon can land and things like
Oh,
that.
okay.
Yeah.
Star Trek more so than the both
X-Wing and...
oh no sorry X-Wing
Yes.
more so than the Star Trek and D&D variants is more about maneuverability.
Yes.
Very much so. Where Attack Wing, the Star Trek one, is very much about how you build. You can build like really powerful units, but
so it's more like
maneuverability is
list
less
building.
important
Okay.
because a lot of ships have the ability to shoot around.
360.
them. Okay.
Yeah.
It's still important, but not as
Yes,
important.
yes.
So, sticking to the game I played the most is Star Wars. To explain the basic mechanics is you have your ships, not surprisingly, and the core of the mechanic is you have your ships on the field, and each ship has a dial. The dial has on it several movements the ship can make. At the start of every round, every player takes their dial for each ship, secretly chooses one of those maneuvers, and places it face down next to each corresponding ship.
Yeah.
Then, in a specific order, which is determined by the ships you're flying and all that, you reveal and you execute that maneuver. And you have little templates that you put on in front of your ships, and they'll dictate where the ship ends up.
Yeah.
Sorry?
No, well, I was just so if it was, I'm assuming each dial is unique to each ship.
Yes, some are similar, and if you're new to the game, you will likely assume there won't actually be much difference, but the subtle changes do actually have a very large long-term effect during the game.
Barrel roll.
Yes, quite a few of them can, yes.
Well, as long as they're TIE fighters
yeah.
or A-wings.
Or E-Wings. E-Wings can do it as well, I think. Oh. Anyway, so you do have ships that are very difficult to fly because they're not very maneuverable. Most notably the Empire's transport shuttle.
Lambda
The Lambda
class shuttle.
Or affectionately known as the Space Cow. Which is very nice, but once it gets past the enemy ships, it takes a very long time to turn around again. Likely crashing into several asteroids while it's getting there. So the ships can also only attack, most of the ships can only attack enemy ships that's actually within their front arc,
Yeah.
which is where the positioning comes in. So you want to position yourself ideally so that you can attack the enemy ships wherein they can't attack you back.
Yes.
You've also got certain obstacles, though unlike 40k or Malifaux, the obstacles aren't three-dimensional.
Yeah.
So you'll place cardboard tokens for most commonly for asteroids on the board, and you'll take turns when you're setting up the game to place them. And that will serve as the environment, and you'll fly through them, or unfortunately fly right into them.
Yes.
So how big is the board that you're playing them on?
3 by 3 feet.
Okay.
Inches, I have no idea.
They're 6 inches with this.
Sorry, 6 inches. Well, centimeters and meters, I have no
Yeah,
idea
that
as
sounds.
well.
Yeah, small table size. So, like a coffee table.
Yes. You do get mats that you can buy mats and things like that.
they're
which
like
already have
starry
the-
backgrounds.
Yeah, starry backgrounds. Yeah, it's relatively quick setup.
Okay.
In terms of game size, you can't get more than 8 ships in one game on your list,
Okay.
based on the standard size of 100 points, and the cheapest ship is 12 points.
Okay.
So you can't get more than 8
yes,
ships.
yeah.
Yes.
You literally can't. But and then surely having 8 of those,
Okay.
is that a viable tactic?
Do they only ever use 100 points, or is there fluctuations in the point levels?
Very rarely do you actually fluctuate.
Okay.
You do have the larger games, which are similar to the 40k Apocalypse games,
Yeah.
but those are a notable exception.
Okay.
And
Same way the Apocalypse games are.
yeah, I mean, it's generally always 100 points. That's the
Okay.
standard. You always, so some people do push it to 150. That's a bit exotic and quite exciting.
Yeah. Ooh.
But
Two
then-
lambda shuttles.
Yes. Well, actually, in the game probably I think they're flying with 6 and 150 point game, something like that. Yeah. So to the cheapest ships in the game, for the Empire would be TIE Fighters at 12 points. For the Rebellion and the new Scum faction is 12 points each.
Okay.
Y-Wings. Or what?
Well, I actually can't remember. That's Rebel Scum. I don't care about that.
They use
Yeah,
Y-Wings as well.
Yeah.
Filthy rebels. No, they're obviously all rebels.
None of them conform.
Exactly.
Anyway,
See who the Empire players are.
so yeah, it's very much about maneuverability and anticipating how your foes are going to be placed. Because one of the important aspects of the game is each ships, they have a pilot skill value. Okay. Pilot skill also directly corresponds to your points value. So you could have a same ship and all the ships have the same stats, but you could have different pilots. So a less experienced pilot will have a lower pilot skill and therefore actually be quite cheap. But pilots such as Luke Skywalker or Darth Vader, or Han Solo, yes, have very high, some of the highest pilot skills, but also a lot more expensive. These pilots also have unique abilities as well, which is also goes a long way to boost their price. But the way pilot skill works is whenever you're revealing those movement dials, you reveal in order of ascending pilot skill. So the lower pilot skills always move first. And then when you're shooting, it's the opposite. So you shoot in descending pilot skill. So very skilled pilots will move last, and then they can react to the environment, and then they'll shoot first before their enemy hits back. However, it does mean that the cheapy, untrained pilots can get in the way a lot.
Yes,
and
can
you
block
can
you.
use that quite a lot to help you out. Annoyingly so.
Yes.
The only question around that is, does Han always shoot first?
Actually, he often does.
His pilot skill is 9.
9,
I think,
which
so
is,
that's like one of the highest in the game.
Naturally, I think he's only 2 pilots of pilot skill 9.
Soon to fell.
Sunterfell and Han.
Han Solo.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
Luke
So-
Skywalker's 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Han shoots before Luke.
Yeah.
And
As
Greedo
it
doesn't
should
even-
be.
Yeah, now we just need to see a Greedo with a pilot skill as opposed to just a co-pilot. You know, like,
Yeah, he has a ship card. Yeah, which
Does
is
he have a
actually
ship card?
Yes. No, sorry, no, he's got an upgrade card.
yeah, I've got to upgrade like a co-pilot card.
Yeah,
and we
he-
don't see his pilot skill.
Yeah. I think. Look, with Scum, it's the new
Yes.
faction. I'm pretty certain we'll see him.
We'll see a Greedo. Yeah.
Well, I
and
don't
he'll be
know,
like
he's
an
got like one scene in
8.5.
9 except for when Han.
Oh, yes, yeah. If Han Solo is on the board.
To further divulge in the game works is after your ship move, your ship also performs an action, and so each ship they'll move and then they'll perform their action, and then you'll move on to the next ship. And these actions can be anything to values that modify your dice, to actually further maneuvering your ship, be it a barrel roll, which allows you to do an additional horizontal movement, or something like a boost, which allows you to edge further in different directions. You can have hand movements, and they can't see anything.
Yes. No, don't
promise
worry.
you
That
it's
always
very-
happens.
yeah.
He's doing very amazing hand movements.
And so what that also means is with the highest skilled pilots is because they're moving last, they can then you choose an action which most benefits them, depending on how everyone else has moved. Of course, at the same time, a very low pilot skill pilots could have moved and they bump into it and everything goes wrong and get very frustrated.
I've seen some of the models in this game, and they're huge, like on little flight stands.
Yes.
What happens when you're like colliding models?
It's not as disastrous as one may fear or actually hope. Thematically, they're flying over each other, even though, but mechanically, when they bump into each other, is the term is because you're so concentrated flying over each other, you don't get an action.
Okay.
And you also can't shoot the ship that you bumped into because you're over each other.
Yeah.
Doesn't always make sense because sometimes you stay bumped into each other, so you're flying over each other, air quotes, for 3 rounds in one.
It's just who blinks first.
Yeah.
The flying into asteroids can be problematic. If the template you're using to move touches an asteroid, you don't get an action and you can potentially take damage. If you unfortunately land on an asteroid, you don't get an action, you can potentially take damage and you don't get to attack.
Okay.
Do you have to use those asteroid tokens, or can you make it like your own asteroid terrain?
In casual play, you can make your own asteroid play.
Like hanging suspended rocks.
Yes. Though it might complicate whether you're actually on the asteroid or not. All the games I've played, people have been quite happy to use the asteroid tokens supplied in the core set. They've also got debris tokens now, which change the game up because they won't necessarily hurt you, but they'll stress you out. I should actually talk about stress.
Yes. Considering it's one of the big meta things at the moment.
So several of your ship's movements are on the dial are red. There's red, white, and green.
Okay.
The green and white actually don't matter initially, but if you perform a red maneuver, it's a stressful maneuver. So your ship will receive 1 stress token. While your ship is stressed, and because stress doesn't normally go away by itself, it cannot perform any actions.
Okay.
Additionally, while you have the stress, you can't perform other red maneuvers. If you would happen to choose red maneuver when you're stressed, your opponent takes your dial and he chooses any other legal maneuver for you. So he could actually fly you off the board.
Yes.
Yeah.
While you are stressed, if you then perform a green maneuver at a later point, you then remove 1 point of stress. Because stress denies you actions, weapons that cause stress are quite powerful. More so now because only recently have people actually started experimenting.
Realizing,
There's actually a recent ship which introduced the Phantom, which people were forced to use stress to combat it, and they've now realized how lovely it is. So stress is quite important. A lot of the maneuvers ships have, it's a large U-turn to get your ship turned around. All ships but one, if they have it, it's stressful. It's the Imperial's TIE Defender, which has the fancy white
Bugden turn, I believe it's called.
The choreographed turn, yes. Unfortunately, it's so nice, it's also rather predictable. So people can often know you're going to do it.
You're totally going to do one of those.
Yes, no, I'm not. So for a large part of it, it's, as I said, staying maneuvering out of your opponent's getting arc of fire while you're getting arc of fire. Though that differs depending on certain factions. The rebels tend to prefer to fly in formation, also with a lot of ships that are very difficult to destroy, but they also have a lot of firepower. Imperials tend to have very weak ships but are harder to hit. So they can also very agile and they can get out of arcs of fire. Though they do have some ships which are very offensive, but they have some vulnerabilities to go with it. The Decimator, for example, is a not agile at all.
It's like
it's
a
a
flying
hard
brick.
hitter, and it can take a lot of damage, but it's very susceptible to criticals. I should actually explain how damage works. Yes. So the way damage works is there's a damage deck of cards. Okay, and whenever your ship receives damage, you just draw a card, put it on your ship. Okay? Your ship has a hull value, and when you have damage equal to or exceeding the hull value, your ship is destroyed. Ships can also suffer critical damage. When that happens, you take a damage card and you flip it face up so that the text is visible. This means your ship suffers additional penalties. This can be anything from counting as 1 additional damage to making you harder for you to fly, or denying you actions, or other really nasty things.
Like negating any of your special
abilities, and maybe you can't do these actions that you want to.
How do you determine when you take damage? Is there...
There's dice. Yes, the damage dice. So each ship has a damage dice value, and that's how much damage dice they roll whenever they attack a ship that they can legally attack. And there are 3 values on these dice. There's the hit value, there's the miss value, which is just a blank dice side, and then there's the focus value. Don't worry about the focus now. So I'll explain that in a bit. So you throw the dice, and then you count up the number of hits and misses you have. Your opponent then has an evade value, which is how many green dice they'll then throw to hopefully negate hits.
Yes.
When you say green dice, now obviously this is a game that comes with its own dice.
Yes.
How many sides on each die?
I think they are D8s. Yes, they are
8-sided
D8s. Yeah.
dice. Okay.
The both the attack and the defense dice are D8s.
Okay. Yes.
I think on the attack dice there are 3 hits and 1 critical hit, so half the hits, half the dice are hits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on the evades, there's 3 evades only out of the rest of the misses.
And are there any different type of dice, or is it always like these are the attack dice? These are the only types of attack dice there are.
You only get the one type of attack dice, so you've only got the 2 sets of dice.
Yeah.
The core set comes with 3 of each. You're going to want to buy an additional dice set, so you've got 6 of each. I've never seen anyone use more than 6 on either attack or defense.
Well, that's a good point then, is if you wanted to start playing now,
yes.
Where would you get started?
Well, first,
There's the core set, obviously.
yes, you buy a core set. Yes.
What comes in the core
The core
set?
set comes with 2 Imperial TIE fighters and 1 Rebel X-Wing. Beyond that, it supplies all of the maneuver dials for those ships. It also has all the movement templates, as well as a full set of 6 asteroids, which is what you need to play the game.
Yeah.
It also has all of the relevant tokens that you need. It also has a selection of upgrade cards, which you can purchase at additional point cost to give ships additional perks and abilities. It also comes with a rulebook, though you can download the rulebook for free on the Fancy Flight sites. Yeah.
Okay. Rules light then?
Very rules light. It's very simple. It's one of the strong points of the game. It's been designed from the ground up as a competitive game. Every time I teach it, they do the first round, and they actually then know how to play the game. It's just a matter of them learning how to play the game well.
Yes, that's all learning the meta. Which
Yes,
is like
learning the meta, yeah.
And or estimating the distance.
Why
asteroid? Why?
that is a very big thing, is learning how far. I'm still learning it.
Yeah.
Certain maneuvers take you, because you're not allowed to actually check before you perform the maneuver.
You
There's
can't
no
pre-measure.
pre-measure.
There's pre-measuring. So
You can sort of pre-measure when you're shooting, like you
you
can be like, oh, I'm at 3 for him and I'm at 2 for him, so I'm going to shoot him.
you can only do that after you've moved.
Yes.
Well,
that's
actually,
true.
after everyone has
Movement-wise,
moved,
you
and when you
can't
actually,
measure.
because the
Only
game has
shooting.
2 phases.
Yeah.
So it has the movement phase when everyone moves, and then you start the shooting phase when everyone shoots.
Yeah.
And only when a ship is about to shoot can you actually then check range. The range is interesting as well, because there's a range band, there's a range 1, there's a range 2, and a range 3, and the core set does come with a range ruler, so you can check. If you're trying to shoot at someone who's beyond in range 3, you can never shoot at it. There are some ships in the epic play format which can shoot beyond that.
Sniper ships.
Yeah, they
Or
can
like
shoot.
Capital
Getting
to
giant
capital
laser
frigates.
cannons. Yes.
That one calamari.
Yes,
thing.
If you're shooting at a ship at range 2, there's nothing. It's as usual.
It's regular.
Yeah, it's regular. If you're shooting at a ship at range 1, it's easy to hit, so the attacker always rolls 1 additional red dice. And if you're shooting at a ship at range 3, it's harder to hit, so the defender always rolls 1 additional green dice.
Okay.
But beyond that, checking, because nothing is ever obstructed. Okay, nothing is ever blocked, put it that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Asteroids can actually obstruct. If with you always check from the closest corner of the ship that he's shooting to the closest corner of the ship that he's defending. And if that line ever crosses an asteroid, the ship is obstructed. The defender is obstructed. That means the defender rolls an additional green dice. Which means if the defender is at range 3 and you're shooting through an asteroid, they roll
Takes 2.
2 additional green dice.
Yeah, so it's a good strategy if you can somehow position yourself behind an asteroid.
And
it
not,
also means-
and not on top of it, actually.
And not on top of it, yes. Okay, so you said the core is 2 TIE fighters and an X-Wing.
Yes.
So what sort of a start is that point-wise?
It's
the game?
point-wise, it's a quarter of a full game. It's going to be about 24
So
points.
you're not quite there yet.
Oh, definitely. The core set is very much an initial investment.
It gives you all the components you need.
You can't use the core set is. You could, but it will get dry really quickly.
Yes.
It's very much a starting point for something you're intentionally looking to invest further in.
It's a nice way to learn the ruls.
Yeah, it's a great way. I mean, again, the rules are for free, so
Yes,
yeah.
that's true.
But
it's cooler to have an actual TIE fighter.
to start off with, yes. From then, it generally depends which faction you choose to play. The Scum, which have just been released, have really nice places. There's the starting off points for them, because you got there's the one pack they have is the Most Wanted pack, which comes with 3 small ships and a lot of upgrade cards.
So it's 3 scum ships.
3 scum ships, yes. It's 2 headhunters and 1 Y-ring.
Just imagine it's like scummy things.
Yeah, filled with scum.
It's like Gungan
So
ships.
they actually have a little bit of an advantage then if you're starting out as them. But they won't come with the range rulers or anything.
Oh no, you can't. If you do want to actually buy the core set for the movement templates and the range rulers and the dice, though you can buy the dice separately.
Can you buy the range rulers separately?
You cannot, unless
also, I assume there's a lot of like generic upgrades in the star set as well.
yes, the way the upgrades work is all ships can take 1 modification upgrade regardless. Beyond that, there's a bar that all ships have. Because ships have cards, and they'll have all the ship stats on it with the special rules. So a general game is that you have your ships playing, and in front of you have all the ship cards with their abilities, and that's also how you allocate damage to those ships, not actually on the table.
Yeah, those are the little tiny cards, hey?
Yeah, well, yes,
Or
they
as I
standard
like to call
magic.
them, the Corey cards.
Yes.
Yeah, the standard magic sized cards for your ships.
Yeah. Ships are the big cards,
Yes.
like magic size cards, and then the upgrades are little
Upgrades
tiny
and the damage cards, or the mini
Corey Kadinsky cards.
Yeah, yes, those. And there's a bar that will actually list the upgrades that specific ship can take. Again, for the most case, it doesn't matter what pilot you have, all ships have the same stats, which means they'll have the same options available to them. With the exception of elite upgrade slots, which only the more experienced pilots will have access to. Once you know which upgrades your ship can take, you can then go through a selection of upgrades, and they'll all have a points cost, and you can purchase them for that specific ship. There are a lot of generic upgrades. Most of them are generic, but a few of them are specific to one of the 3 factions.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
Which
they're
are
Are there ones that are specific to ships as well?
Yes, they are. You get ones that will actually specifically say to a ship, or you get ones that are a title for that ship, or ones that simply can't be taken by other ships because
it doesn't
it doesn't really make sense. Like the cloaking upgrade. There's only 1 ship that can cloak, so there's not yet any reason to buy it for any other ship.
Yeah.
And I think on the card it says like TIE Phantom only on the clip.
There's 2 upgrades, but only one of them says TIE Phantom.
Oh,
only.
okay.
Yes, which is why. Yeah,
So they're like
In the future, they're like scum and
Oh,
villainy.
I can't, most likely scum because I can't think of any rebel ships that
Well,
have
there's
cloaked.
like that one bounty hunter has like that cloaking
Impossible.
thing.
No ship that small. has a cloaking device.
Yeah. Fooled you.
Point wise, cash inputs. I should probably
Yes,
say that.
cash
The-
input.
the
Okay,
core
so what's
set,
the starter at?
the core set is about 600, might be 625.
Okay, well, we'll go with 600 because it's nice and round.
Yeah, 600. Your small ship, each small standard ship is 225 rand.
Okay.
Your larger ships can go, depending on the size of the box, between 400 to 500.
Okay. And numbers wise on the ships, I know like they'll probably go with like the abilities on the ships have, that'll be the number of points, but how many do you think, depending on what faction you're playing, how many would you play?
That's difficult to say because all 3 factions have many options available to them. Initially, Empire was a lot more prone to swarming, so having, say, 6 to 8 ships, most of them TIE fighters, and Rebels were generally more prone to having 3 or 4 ships in the field. As it is now, all 3 factions can happily swarm or just have 2 to 3 ships in play. I personally play Imperials.
Yes.
Generally run either 2 ship or 3 ship builds.
Okay.
Rebels, it also tends to mix it up.
Depends if you want the Millennium Falcon or if you just want a whole lot of
Yeah,
X-Wings.
so what's more common there at the moment, and what do people generally
The
go
local
for?
tournaments.
The local tournament
What's getting
scene.
fielded?
Competitively in the Imperials, I say the 2 more common lists you're saying for Imperials is either 3 TIE fighters and a Phantom, or a Decimator and 1 power ship, either a TIE Defender or a TIE Phantom. So that's 2 between 5 or 2 ships.
Okay.
Scum has just been released, so we haven't seen a standard.
no,
But the 2 aggressor ship lists is really good. People are really happy with that. and I haven't really seen what people are running with the smaller ships, but it tends to be 4 or 5 of the smaller ships in Scum.
Okay.
For Rebels, the Falcon features quite a lot.
Yeah. Well.
Wow.
Yeah, it's about it. Having 2 Falcons was quite popular. I don't see it as much anymore. But having 1 Falcon and I think 3 Headhunters was also quite popular. You could also have, I think, 2 B-Wings and 2 X-Wings was also really popular, and it's still really good. So that's the...
So it seems like not many current things are more than 4 or 5 ships.
It's the standard, yes, for 4 to 5 ships.
Now, with the upgrade cards sort of thing, are there ones that come uniquely with ships?
Yes. Whenever you buy the ships, you'll get upgrade cards for that ship. They're not exclusively for that ship. You'll just get a selection which you could use the rest of your collection.
Yeah.
And it's the only way to get upgrade cards is to buy ships. And
How often do you find, as an Imperial player,
Yes.
that you want to buy a Rebel box for its cards?
a few times. Currently,
Sneaky fantasy
Yes,
flight!
I know. Currently, there's 2 Scum ships that have upgrade cards I'd really like. But I've gotten this far without needing to buy
Yes,
ships.
you've held off until now.
Financially, it's really nice because as an Imperial player, I think 3 months ago I bought the Decimator. I've only bought 1 Decimator because it by itself is half your list.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's
yeah.
a big chunk of points.
And before that was mid last year where I bought 2 Phantoms and 2 Defenders. The way the expansions work is they work in waves. And each wave will have ships for both factions. Now it'll be all 3 factions.
Yeah.
And so it'll be before Scum it was 2 ships for Empire, 2 ships for Rebels. And that would be, say, once every 3 to 4 months that would release.
Yeah, so that's not bad financially at all.
Yeah, so being someone who's only buying Imperials, last year, so Decimated a few months ago, and then mid last year I bought 2 Phantoms, 2 Defenders. That was about 900 Rand. And that's all I've spent on the game, not counting the deluxe movement templates I have, which are very shiny, and I'm really happy. That was expensive, but that's a luxury item.
Where did you get those from?
That's from Team Covenant. That is an American company who, originally a store, started creating luxury items such as that for tokens, and all of it is acrylic, so it's fantastic quality.
So they
really nice.
laser cut them or something.
Oh yeah. And they have very good ties with Fantasy Flight as well, and they do a lot of very good promotion, and quite a lot of their games have really nice support for it as well.
Okay, well then, to keep with the trend, what's your favourite point about the game, and what's your worst point about the game?
I'd say my favorite aspect of the game is ease of play and speed of play. The rule system is very tight, works really well, and people understand and get into it really quickly. And games are about 45 minutes a game.
Okay, so that's a pretty good number there, because there's sort of like your more magic crowd where games are about that sort of
Yeah,
stuff.
it's games move. I mean, you can sometimes you do with all games get a one person who just sits there and thinks.
Analysis paralysis affects
to
many
barrel
people.
roll
So.
or not to
Well,
barrel
it's
roll?
also like it's when you're choosing maneuvers that people think. I mean, when you're shooting, I mean, you're dedicated whether you like it or not.
Yes.
But it's when you're choosing maneuvers because you have to anticipate where your opponent's going to go.
It's like chess.
It's just one of those things, especially I think in most war games, you're actually winning during your movement.
Yes.
Because that's what determines what can do.
What's the range,
especially
what
here,
is the
it's
range,
if you can. And I think the rule system is also nice because if you can fly well, you can do really well. If you've got a poor list but you fly well, you can win. If you have a good list but you fly poorly, you are likely going to lose.
Yeah.
I think the biggest criticism I would have is definitely the way they do the upgrade cards.
Okay.
Because the only way to get certain upgrade cards that you really like is to buy those specific ships, even if you have no use for those ships.
Yeah, I spotted that as a thing, like immediately, and like,
what
if I wanted that thing from the Rebel pack?
there are certain upgrade cards I simply do not have access to because I don't buy Rebels.
Don't want to buy anything.
It's the community is really nice. So I mean, whenever I go to play, can I borrow this, and they're quite happy to give it to me. I personally have no issue with proxying cards as well, as long as you have a copy there.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can reference it, I'm happy. But it is an issue. It's like
Death Star laser beam. That's a legal card.
I mean, there are other things. Like there's an upcoming ship. It's for the Epic Play, the Imperial Raider, which has the TIE Advanced ship, and it has a lot of upgrade cards just for the TIE Advanced, which for that fix it in many ways. It's an amazing ship now if you buy that pack and get those upgrade cards.
But you're going to buy an Imperial Raider.
Look, to be honest, I was going to buy it regardless.
Yes, this is true. Imperial Raider is awesome.
Yes, but I understand why they did it, because Fantasy Flight had no real other window to get that kind of product out, those cards. They knew that ship needed help. But there's other upgrades. I'd really like to have them, but no direct access. Have to buy those ship cards. And they have stated that they're not doing any card-only expansions.
Okay. So that is categorically on the cards.
So that's the biggest criticism I have for it. I mean, also everything is pre-painted, and that's fantastic. I enjoy painting a lot, but it's nice to have a game where I don't have to worry about that.
Okay. Have you ever considered repainting or touching up?
Personally, no. But a lot of people do that quite happily.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people will be like, I want to have Rogue Squadron, I want to have Red Squadron, or Gold Squadron. Or those TIE interceptors with the hot, like, sort of
the
like
red
things,
stripe.
highlights,
It's scum ships mostly, actually, is what they repaint. Particularly the fire sprays are one I see repainted mostly.
Really? Yes, so that it
because of the different pilots.
Because everyone still calls it Slave 1, even though it's a fire
I
spray.
know it's a fire spray.
Yes. Slave 1. Everyone knows it from the movies. It's Slave 1 of the movies. So. Same as like with the Millennium Falcon. You're not going to call it the Falcon. What is it?
YT 2100. No, it's a YT 1300. Because it's the 2100 is the Dash Rendar ship.
Yes, so it's like...
That is a legitimate concern about the game. Is the... If you do buy all the factions, obviously you sort it.
Then it doesn't matter.
But that becomes a bigger issue in terms of financial burden. I know someone who does intentionally buy everything because he treats it like a board game. And if he's bringing someone in, he's like, look, I've got all the ships, play whichever faction you want.
Well, I mean, that's why I bought the Falcon, just because it's the Falcon.
But
now, as a result, I've got the Falcon and 2 X-Wings, so that's 100 points. So I can teach people to play as rebels.
Whenever I teach people, I do the demo game. It's 2 TIE Fighters, 1 X-Wing.
Yes.
If they want to play further, we'll do it.
Depends on the person, actually. Some people can just pick it up like that with 400 points. Other people are like...
I remember teaching it to someone who I assumed they would know because they played Magic, but turns out Magic was the only board gamey thing they've ever played. And I had to go, whoa, hold on. I roll dice? Okay, why do I roll dice?
What is a dice?
Okay.
Dice indicate life totals.
I've had that issue. Look, the ships are beautiful. A lot of people, I know some people who buy them just to have them.
Well, that's why I bought the Falcon.
Especially the larger ships. And considering that they're all hand-painted and the quality that they have,
Are they hand-painted?
They are all hand-painted.
Because I heard that they use a process in their factory that they just do it.
It's a factory line, but it's hand-painted factory line.
Okay.
So it's both, I suppose.
Yeah.
But look, I know that it's because it's mechanical. You cheat a lot. It's difficult to make that look bad. I mean, the Star Trek stuff doesn't look great, but it's still at the same time. The stuff looks great. The larger ships, you buy it. You're not going to play it very often, but it's okay. It looks sexy, on your shelf wherever you put it.
Okay, now we're running way over time, so we should probably wrap it up. Thank you very much for. Well, okay, before we wrap X-Wing up. Where do you play your X-Wing?
Oh yes, Cyclops. There's actually not... Okay, actually, 3+. It happens with 3+ quite a lot.
3+,
but that's a mix of the other games. It's not a dedicated...
3+
the closest that I'm aware of a dedicated club is there's a league that happens through Anime Works at Brightwater Commons. And the current league is 60 Rand if you're going to play. And every second Sunday they have... it's a running tournament. So every second Sunday you go in, it's 2 games. And that's it for the day, and then you come back the next second Sunday. And it's ranked primarily on... Currently, it's actually ranked primarily on how fun you were to play against. Which is really nice, because it encourages, you playing fun lists and things like that.
As opposed to the latest blob list of whatever.
Yeah, and I really enjoy it.
Stress, don't go.
I enjoy it because we get together there at, I think, 10, and we start playing at maybe 11 or 12, and I'm done by 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's my 2 games done. I also sometimes play at 3+ on Wednesday nights, but that's a mix. They've got 40k there, they've got, what's that World War II one that's weirdly getting popularity again?
Flames of War.
Flames of War.
Yes.
Yeah, that came out of nowhere.
It's very
suddenly,
popular.
yeah.
Yeah. It's very popular overseas. They've been
Really pushing
punching it for a lot overseas. And then I think it's just
Because
recently.
everyone's forgotten about Call of Duty 2. And they're like, we need World War II stuff now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 3+ has a variety, but they do play, a lot of people there do play X-Wing as well.
Okay, yeah. Well, thank you for joining us,
It's
Daniel.
my pleasure.
And chatting about miniature games. Hopefully people can take away some sort of advice from it, even if it's just one person. Hopefully we can have you again on the show sometime in the future.
Okay.
We're still about Armada.
It's all about
Probably
Armada.
Armada, yes.
Yeah. Remember to go buy your Armada box set. It's out by now. And that brings us to the end of our show. If by some crazy random happenstance you enjoyed what you listened to, go and give us a like on Facebook, Geek of All Trades. We're there. Otherwise, send us an email at info@geekofalltrades.co.za. We would always love to hear from you. Keep an ear to the ground for future episodes. Geek of All Trades, out.